Sound check, sound check.
It is 7 o'clock, and I'm calling this meeting of the San Leandro City Council to order. Today is Monday, November 3rd. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please take our roll?
Council Member Aguilar.
Present.
Councilmember Azevedo is absent. Councilmember Simon is absent. Councilmember Bolt.
Present.
Councilmember Viveros Walton.
Present.
Vice Mayor Bowen.
Present.
And Mayor Gonzalez.
Present.
Thank you.
So in our item 2 announcements, we take a moment to acknowledge that the city of San Leandro sits within the traditional homeland of the Halkeen, a Chochenyo, Ohlone, and Bay Miwok speaking people. Through strength and determination of their ancestors and elders, the Halkeen people continue to live and thrive in contemporary San Leandro and in surrounding areas. And we recognize their enduring connection to this land, past and present. And we express our respect for their cultures, their histories, their ongoing contributions, including their role as traditional stewards of this land. The city of San Leandro conducts orderly meetings to fulfill its mandate. Discriminatory statements or conduct that would potentially violate the Federal Civil Rights Act of 1964 and/or the California Fair Employment and Housing Act, the California Penal Code sections 403 or 415, are per se disruptive to a meeting and will not be tolerated. So please see the City Council Handbook and City Council Meeting Rules of Decorum for more information. Madam Clerk, your announcement, please.
If you would like to make a public comment during the meeting, you can do so in person or via Zoom. If you are present at the meeting, please complete a speaker card and submit it to the city clerk before the item is presented. If you wish to participate in public comment via Zoom, you can use the raise your hand tool when the item is called. During the public comment session, speakers will be invited to speak and will have a set time to share their comments. A countdown timer will appear for their convenience, and when the time is up, the microphone will be muted. All raised hands outside of public comment will be lowered to avoid confusion. Once public comment is opened, hands may be raised to speak. There will be a 30-minute window for public comments, which will take place under Item 7, Public Comments, as per the published agenda. After this time is up, the council will proceed with the rest of the meeting's agenda. If you have not had the opportunity to speak during the initial 30-minute period, there will be another chance to do so after Item 12, City Council Reports.
So I'd like to highlight one thing in particular. So we've got some people that are new to our chambers who are not accustomed to public comment. So as a reminder, public comment on items that are on the agenda will be taken at that time. There will be a section on the agenda that's called public comment, and that will be specifically for things that are not on our agenda. So just as a reminder to keep those two pieces separate. Do we have a report on closed session action taken? Was there any?
Thank you, Mayor. No reportable actions were taken in closed session, but direction was provided to staff.
And for those that are not aware, we had 4 different items to discuss, so those a good and thorough discussion of those items. So let's move on to item number 4, acknowledgement. Our recognitions is when we are offering our proclamation declaring November 2025 as Native American Heritage Month. President Medina, if you could come on up. I'll ask you to hold that for just a second. I'm going to pull this out. And then I am going to read it. Okay, so we've got Vincent Medina, President of the Ohlone Indian Tribe. Congratulations on your new title. He was born and raised in the ancestral homeland of Halkeen, which includes San Leandro and surrounding regions, as I mentioned just a little bit earlier. So let's read through this. I mean, this is pretty powerful stuff. So, whereas Native Americans have inhabited the Bay Area region for many millennia, and still are living here as integral community members who contribute significantly to the growth, prosperity, and identity of our country from its inception to its present day. And whereas the 2020 U.S. Census reported that 9.6 million people throughout the United States self-identify as American Indian and Alaska Native during the decennial census. And according to the Bureau of Indian Affairs, there are currently 574 federally recognized Native nations. And whereas California is home to 109 federally recognized tribes, along with a number of other tribes that are not currently recognized by the federal government, such as the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area, who are actively petitioning for federal recognition and reaffirmation. And whereas National Native American Heritage Month serves to recognize Native American culture and to educate the public about their heritage, their history, their art, and service in the United States Armed Forces. And whereas the city of San Leandro specifically recognizes that the history of the native peoples of this country include painful experiences arising from a host of matters, including colonialization, forced removal from lands, inhumane treatment, involuntary assimilation, and other disreputable practices that negatively impacted indigenous communities. And whereas on this occasion, the city of San Leandro celebrates the incredible resilience of Native Americans for their ongoing community building and reclamation of their unique cultures, languages, and traditions, as well as their continued contributions to our community. Now, therefore, I, Juan Gonzalez III, Mayor of the City of San Leandro, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2025 as Native American Heritage Month in the City of San Leandro and encourage all residents in the city to engage in the history, culture, traditions, and contributions of Native Americans in our community, and to be mindful of the programming that we have that will be taking place this month, specifically sponsored by the city, and encourage you to join that programming. Would you like to say a few words?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez, for that kind proclamation. I'd like to start by saying in Chochenyo, which is the first language of the East Bay, Jorge Mor Hemmenya. Good evening to you all. Kanakrakat Vincent Medina, at Jorge Tamaktashu, Hemmin Maksuyakma Makin Hinimak. My name is Vincent Medina, and I'm proud to be the president of the Ohlone Indian tribe. We are the indigenous people of San Leandro, the East Bay. And in Chochenyo, I say it's always good to recognize our family, our community, especially our elders and our forebears. With me today, we have many members of our community that are here. I'd like to acknowledge First Gentleman of the Ohlone Indian tribe, Luis Trevino, esteemed elder and former president of the Ohlone Indian tribe, Andrew Galvan. I'd like to acknowledge Tribal Secretary Tina Ladowney, Tribal Secretary Stacy Hungerford, Auntie Stella Lakey right here, and also dear friend Ana Marie Leon Guerrero. It's good to be here with you all, and I'd like to state that San Leandro is Halkeen. Halkeen is the original name of San Leandro, and Halkeen is San Leandro. Our people, we've always been here in this region that today we call San Leandro. Every generation of our family, from those days long before colonization, long before Mission San Jose, to where we're at today in 2025, every generation of our Ohlone people have always been here with no break and no disconnect. And that right there is a testament to the strength of all those generations before us, our forebears, who allow us to be able to remain in our home and carry on our beautiful Ohlone culture. We see all throughout what is now San Leandro reminders of the thousands upon thousands of years of existence of Ohlone people. And we see that physically with the Ohlone people of today and the culture continuously being practiced. Long before this area has been called San Leandro, the regions upon this city have always fostered a beautiful way of living, a sophisticated, dignified way of living for our Ohlone people. From Hakautak, the traditional Olympia oyster beds, where today the San Leandro Marina is at, to Yukishtak, the majestic oak groves where today the San Leandro Hills are at, to Ripintak, the willow groves that give way to the foundational materials of elegant Ohlone baskets, and today where Washington Manor's at, to the towering shell mounds that are today where Davis Street's at. Our Ohlone people have always tended to this landscape with love, with respect, in a way that's regenerative, tending to this landscape with fire, navigating Omu, San Francisco Bay, in fine boats of Tule, factoring beauty and artistry into every element of daily life. These traditions have never been lost, and they carry on to this day. I'd also like to say, as we drive through modern-day San Leandro, Ohlone traditional roads follow the roads that today we see. East 14th Street is a traditional Grand Oak Boulevard. Washington Avenue is a traditional Ohlone road. Marina Boulevard connects the interior to the Bay Shore. These follow old-time roads, and it's a reminder that we've always been right here, and here we remain. Our family has survived hardship at Mission San Jose. Our family has survived UC Berkeley erroneously declaring our people extinct that led to the loss of federal recognition for our great-grandparents' generation. Our great-grandmother, Mary Archuleta, lived through that. When the federal recognition for the Verona Band of Alameda County was taken away because UC Berkeley erroneously declared our people extinct, something that was never true, but our family persisted through. They worked hard to remain here in our home, and they did so successfully, even when land rights were revoked from our people. Here we remain in Halkine. Here our culture continues to be practiced. And here we continue to see the old ways, the oldest traditions of this place, uplifted and carried through. Again, this is not starting with us in my generation, but we always want to acknowledge the elders. And I want to give special acknowledgement to President Emeritus Andrew Galvan, who's here, who has faithfully led the Ohlone Indian tribe for decades to promote our interest, our culture, and to preserve the Ohlone Indian Cemetery near Mission San Jose. Thank you, Cousin Andy. Thank you for all the work that you have always done for our people. Today we stand here with our elders' supports, with the oldest traditions in place and intact. So please associate us Ohlones, not ever only with colonization, only with the things that have happened that were unjust, but don't forget those things either. Please associate us with strengths, triumphs, and intergenerational leadership that carries on into the present and will be here tomorrow as well. Again, San Leandro is Halkine, and Halkine is San Leandro. Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez, for once again promoting and elevating Ohlone culture here in the City Hall chambers. And the council, thank you all as well for your support to see our Ohlone culture recognized. It's a reminder change does not have to be adversarial or scary when the oldest traditions of this place are uplifted, but it's something where we can benefit together. Achokmamu, in friendship and allyship, Unimu, with mutual respect. Thank you.
Everyone can join us.
Thank you.
We're gonna get the group to come forward. So our next item on the agenda is the consent calendar. At this point in time, is there any council member that would like to pull an item from the consent calendar? I'll start with Councilmember Aguilar.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to move the consent calendar.
Okay, so we've got a motion by Councilmember Aguilar to move the consent calendar. Councilmember Votos Walton, you're recognized.
Second.
Okay, so at this point in time, seeing no interest in pulling an item, I'll go to public comment on the consent calendar.
Mayor, we have not received any in-person speaker cards, but there are 2 raised hands on Zoom.
Okay, so we will close in-person comment on the consent calendar and move online.
The first speaker is Douglas Spalding. You may unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to kind of, let's see, I'm going to move here to open up part of the agenda. My observation oftentimes with the consent calendar is that we're looking at cost overruns, adding to the cost of a contract. And, oh gosh, can I find it here now? I found one of the statements in the resolutions very telling. Is this it? It's not. I don't know if I'm going to be able to find it, but it's something to the fact that the council recognizes that these cost overruns, or as you call them, something else in here, are kind of a necessary part of doing business, that it makes things run smoother. And, you know, I don't know. I don't know. It just seems like if you're budgeting and if we're continually over budget, if we have this is one of those structural problems in the budget, is that it's just assumed that it's going to go over. So of course we're over budget. And I don't know what it will take, because I'm not a financier, I'm not a money manager, I'm not a financial person at all, but it just, I don't know, it seems odd to me that this is the way that we do business in the city, that we have these items come up item after item, and either it's like 4.5% or 5% or 10%, or maybe we get really surprised by something. Like, can't we figure it out earlier so that we are on budget? Oh, I just found the quote, but I'm out of time. All right, thank you.
Thank you. Your time is up. The next speaker is Christopher Bammer.
Yeah, I'll go -10 when I start. That's fine. I would just like to point out that I would like to speak on public comment, on the public hearing, and also on the action items. I'm right there with Mr. Spalding about the change orders. Looking at this, I think I saw the original contract was like $588,000, and now we're up over 1.8 million. I could be wrong, right? Because I just skimmed it. I didn't really read into it a lot, but I do remember this project because I was coming to city council meetings and going to the different supervisor, whatever commissions you guys do. And I wanted to follow this one, and I kind of fell off of it, but it definitely went like I thought it was going to go. It was going to be at least double. I'm curious to know, is all this work done, right? This is from 2019 to 2021. Are we still working on this? Does this work still need to be done? Or are these guys getting, waiting to be paid? What is this work for, right? Like, I mean, street rehabilitation. The next one that's coming up is like, fix the roof on 4 buildings. Well, which 4 buildings, right? We're going to be fixing someone's house? Anyways, yeah, I'm not surprised with what's going on with the city council, and I'll just save the rest of my comments for later tonight.
Thank you. Mayor, there are no more raised hands on Zoom.
Okay, so we'll close public comment on the consent calendar. I will observe that for the street rehabilitation, as we add more streets for the contractor, As long as we are in agreement that it's okay to keep expanding and adding more streets, then we will continue adding more streets, and so the budget increases accordingly. And the staff report with respect to the roofs specifically identifies the facilities that are being re-roofed. So with that, is there any further discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
All votes are in. The motion passes unanimously with Councilmember Azevedo absent.
Thank you. At this point, I'm going to go to item number 6 on the agenda. I don't believe we have any reports. I'm just look to my left and to my right and make sure. So we do not have any reports. We'll proceed to item number 7, public comment. Again, this is the time for the public to comment on items that are not on today's agenda. If you would like to speak on an item on the agenda, please address us at that time. So items not on the agenda, Madam Clerk.
Mayor, we have received 4 comment cards in person, and there are currently 3 hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, please begin in person.
The first speakers are Mads Jewell, followed by Melissa Wong, then Mike McGuire.
Matt, is this on? Right. Okay, my name is Matt Jewell. I just thank you all for what you do. I was watching a thing on YouTube that all the previous mayors, well, a lot of the previous mayors put on, and city managers and what have you. It was like an hour long, and I just wanted to say something good about Brian Azevedo. Like he made a mistake. People make mistakes. Every president we've ever had in this country has made. Every president we've ever had in this country, every mayor we've ever had has made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. Brian unfortunately made a mistake. And he's a really good guy who helps a lot of people in this city. And that's all I had to say. Thank you. And thank you all for what you do too.
Thank you. The next speaker is Melissa Wong, followed by Mike McGuire, then Fred Zhang.
Okay. All right, thank you very much, District 4, member of the Washington Homeowners Association. I've got my shirt here. I voted for tomorrow. Shout out to the library. This is the button for them. Specifically, the Manor Library. They have a Chinese Mandarin class, and you get to learn a little bit more about the Chinese culture. Thank you, Mayor, for showing up last week and promises to show up for future weeks, and I invite everybody. It's free, and I really support it. It's during the day, so if there's any chance for it to be in the evening or on a Saturday, more working folks would be able to show up. A shout out to the finance department for. I look forward to the monthly newsletter, and it did the fiscal year 24 financial report, the financial statement apparently is clean, and we got an award for it. So more to come, and hopefully for the FY 25. That was finance, okay? The budget. 4 months ago, we passed the budget, and I found out that Oakland passed the week before. So we were really cutting it close. We basically got it the last meeting that we could, and I could see some folks that wanted more time. So I'm giving another plea to have a budget task force, not 28 people, but consider 1 per district. I'm not going to be part of it, but you could certainly pick my brain because I did it 4 years ago, and I have a lot of input that I would like to do. And as you could tell, there are public folks who are non-financial that have very passionate experiences. Got a few seconds. I feel like some of the things that I say, I represent a lot of people. I'm not running for office, not a chance, but I can speak English. I can speak Cantonese. 我可以講廣東話。
Thank you. Your time is up. The next two speakers are Mike McGuire and Fred Zhang.
A local media outlet, and my first meeting as a civilian, which I am enjoying very much, being here as a civilian, or as an ordinary citizen, perhaps I should say. So I know we have all kinds of governance issues that are going to be talked about tonight. However, I've come to talk about housing because I got back from overseas a little late for the last meeting on that and wanted to put my 2 cents in. First of all, I do own a home. I do not rent anything out, okay? So I'm neither a tenant nor a landlord. So I just wanted to correct, though, what I've seen as some misperceptions or misinformation, really, during the whole debate. We had an eviction problem before the pandemic, which most of the people were fully paid up on the rent who were being evicted. Even when people could legally skip paying rent, they didn't. And so the ordinance wasn't just, something people made up because nothing was wrong, which was often said. We also hear a lot about a fair rate of return for landlords, but we don't hear enough about fair rents for tenants. There is a number out there that you could use as a rule of thumb, which is 30% of income. That is not mentioned in the ordinance, incidentally. If you hear the rhetoric, all the landlords in town are small landlords owning 1 or 2 units. That cannot possibly be the case, given the number of rental units we have. And research that some people have been doing has shown that the number of people who own only a unit or 2 is very, very small. 6 was the number I heard. Also, we hear a lot about free market supplying and housing. Anyone who's read an introductory economics textbook should look back at the first few chapters. They will discover why housing is not a free market and never has been. The minute you have a zoning law, it's no longer a free market. The minute you have a landlord owning more than 1 or 2 units, it's not a free market. When a tenant does not have a free choice of lots of places
Thank you,
to
sir.
live,
Your time
it's
is
not
up.
a free.
The next speaker is Fred Zhang.
Hello. Yeah, my name is Fred. I was advised by someone in the supervisor's office to come speak here. So I have a ongoing issue since July. There's a homeless person, he's on the San Lorenzo Creek on the San Leandro side. So this is right behind All Safe Self-Storage on Llewellyn Boulevard, just west of the 880. So this individual, he's been just shouting nonstop, using profanity, and it's really affecting the residents on the other side of the creek, on the San Lorenzo side. So I'm here on behalf of San Lorenzo Neighborhood Watch. And we reached out multiple times to SLPD because, the sheriff said it was in their jurisdiction. So I'm just wondering if there's, we haven't heard anything back from SLPD over multiple attempts over the last couple months. So I think it's really kind of driving the residents there to the brink of frustration and despair. But I'm just wondering if there's anything you guys can do. I have some printouts of the exact location. So I just don't know what to do next. That's why I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, so while we don't generally get into dialogue in public comment, what I will say is we're going to connect you with Assistant Chief Torres, who I believe is here. If you can wave, there you are, right in the middle. So if the two of you could speak to make sure there's a connection between the services that SLPD can offer and that human services more broadly can offer, and that can be a connection point.
Okay,
So,
thank you, Mayor Gonzalez.
have a good day.
Mayor, that's our last in-person comment card. There's currently 6 hands raised.
Okay, so let us close in-person public comment and let's move online.
The first speakers are Douglas Spalding, Mike Katz-Lakabe, and Christopher Bemmer. Douglas Spalding, you can unmute yourself.
Thank you so much. First, I want to acknowledge the mayor reading a land acknowledgement. And as I often chat back and forth with Dominic during the meetings. I just want to pass on his observation that Mayor Gonzalez is the first San Leandro mayor to have ever read a land acknowledgement. I just hope it's not, a one-off during Native American Heritage Month, and that it becomes a regular feature of our agenda, and that it's published as part of the agenda. I'm not sure how we got to this point. I'm very thankful to hear it, but I'm just encouraging you and the city and the council to go on. The reason I raised my hand is to stand in support of our council member, Brian Azevedo. And I can't imagine how difficult things are for Brian and his family right now. We can conjecture about, the things he's done that were wrong or illegal or whatever, but I have to say I haven't really seen much evidence. I've heard accusations. I've heard a lot of people clamoring for him to resign. I hope that he does not resign. And all manner of things. It's kind of like, well, if you don't like Brian, then yes, of course he's guilty. I believe in the legal principle that one is innocent until proven guilty. And I appreciate, again, kudos to the mayor for having put out a PSA about the situation and underscoring that precise thing. I think we as a city don't do ourselves any favor when we look to cut off people's tenure in office. We've seen lots of recall campaigns, some successful, some unsuccessful, but in every case, in my mind, it's caused some kind of setback. And I hope that we don't have a setback in this situation. Thank you.
Thank you. Your time has elapsed. The next speakers are Mike Katzlakabe, Christopher Bammer, and Jamie M.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, and members of the public. My name is Mike Katzlakabe, and years ago, San Leandro passed a sanctuary city ordinance. And granted, it was mainly a gesture in words and not really actions or deeds, and it didn't really have much teeth to it. But at the time, we certainly couldn't have imagined the type of agency that ICE has turned into, kidnapping people off of the street, ramming into people's cars, pointing their guns at protesters on the street, and basically using the systems of mass surveillance that we ourselves installed, including the flock cameras that we installed around the city, as part of their deportation machine. The consequences, or lack thereof, for Flock providing access to that data by ICE to use as part of its deportation efforts, I think is utterly shameful. And what's more is we are currently sharing our license plate reader data with an agency in California, El Cajon, that is currently being sued by the California Attorney General for violating California state law by sharing its license plate reader data, and therefore our license plate reader data from our cameras to agencies in states like Texas and Louisiana and Florida, states that are not of the same mind as we are about protecting our undocumented friends and neighbors, and also have been documented to be using it to try to track down women who have had an abortion across state lines. I would urge you to stop sharing data with El Cajon and stop Flock.
Thank you, sir. Your time has elapsed. The next speakers are Christopher Bammer, Jamie M., and Jesse. Christopher Bammer, you can unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name's Chris Bammer. I've been a resident since 2000. My family has owned a business in the city since 1977. I want to comment on the earlier speaker in person about the issue of the homeless person. That's what brought me to city council, years and years ago, January 20th, 2018 to be exact. Look it up. we got a nice place for all these people right there on Llewellyn, 555 Llewellyn. We must have spent $20 million on that place. I would like an update on, where we're at. How many people are we helping? I kind of want to, balance the dollars for resources. What are we doing there? I don't know what else to say about the homeless problem for those people, but I feel their pain. I wanted to comment on the Brian Azevedo situation. What's the process? How do we start the process of removing him? Like I'm a citizen. I voted, in an election. I pay taxes. I don't want him in office because now we're going to get a lawsuit that the city is going to have to pay for that comes out of taxpayer money. We just need to get him out of office now. So how do we do a recall election? How do we pull him out of office? That's my biggest question right now. It's a distraction for everybody else that works there, right? So not only is he got problems, now he's brought his problems on everybody else that works there, that works for the people of the community, of the city. So in my opinion, he needs to go. Who should I ask? Should I ask my council member? It looks like later on tonight that another council member is pulling up a complaint about my council member. So now I don't even feel like I can trust my own council member. So, things in San Leandro are like a bad remake of Blazing Saddles.
Thank you. Your time is up. The next speakers are Jamie M., Jesse, and Alvaro Ramos. Looks like the next speakers are Jesse, then Alvaro Ramos. Jesse, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Jesse Rubin, and I am an active member of the League of San Leandro Voters. At the September 2nd council meeting, the League gave a coordinated public comment that included the case of the People versus Councilmember Acevedo. We laid out the facts. Acevedo had been named a target in a federal investigation involving bribery, conspiracy, and making false statements to law enforcement. The FBI had raided his home, seizing phones, tablets, and computers, evidence for potential criminal charges tied to misuse of public office. This week, we learned that federal prosecutors have now charged Acevedo, alleging he agreed to use his power as an elected official to benefit a company in exchange for his own personal financial gain. Councilmember Acevedo, we hope you are listening, even if you are not at tonight's meeting. I sincerely appreciate that you do great things in the community and are very well liked. You are also, of course, innocent until proven guilty. But even if you are not convicted, the evidence against you constitutes a grave breach of public trust and an ethical failure. Your continued presence on this council is dragging it farther into corruption and scandal. For the good of the city, please step down. Your failure to do so strongly suggests that you care more about your own ego than what is in the city's best interest. Thank you.
Thank you. The next.
Okay, sorry, but there's the warning. We don't have outbursts in this chamber. Okay, everyone gets to have their voice, and you say it up here. Thank you.
The next speakers are Alvaro Ramos, Laura Blumenthal, and Jamie M.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So I wanted to echo the issue with the Ring and Flock. Amazon Ring announced a partnership with surveillance tech company Flock. This corporation was recently exposed for secretly sharing camera data with out-of-state law enforcement, investigating people who travel for abortion care, and Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. And from what I know, ICE is still camped out on Coast Guard Island next to Alameda right now. I know the police department has the Community Safety Ring Camera Program, which admits that it shares data with the police department, but I don't know if, there has to be some transparency. Is that information being shared with ICE, Border Patrol, and outside law enforcement? There are some action items we could do. You could individually decide to turn off your Ring camera. You could remove your Ring camera. If you want to keep your Ring camera, you could activate end-to-end encryption feature. It's also worth having a conversation with your neighbors individually about this. If you're a member of a homeowners association, have a discussion with your HOA and in neighborhood and community meeting spaces about this community safety issue. I also think that the city should prioritize computer safety in the local computer network and maybe, if possible, restrict accessibility to ICE, Border Patrol, and out-of-state law enforcement, and also, exercise authority to protect people and their data in contracts with private utilities. It's also worth keeping a record of any time ICE, Border Patrol, out-of-state law enforcement access our computers and this data. And I'll say that I have seen video footage of ICE scanning people with smartphones in public to determine if a person is immigrant or a citizen. That says nothing about the amount of errors of misclassification in their data collection, and we shouldn't be complicit with these agencies. We do not want legal issues from helping them break the law. And this is an example of how surveillance backfires and puts us in danger. We have to put regulations on public utilities, private utilities.
Thank you. Your time is up. The next speakers are Laura Blumenthal and Jamie M.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. This is Laura Blumenthal, District 5, and I'm also a member of San Leandro, the League of San Leandro Voters. I have, I guess, 4 issues tonight. One regarding Councilmember Acevedo, who it looks like isn't here tonight. I know the city and the mayor is calling this a personal matter, but I mean, it already appears visibly like it's impacting his ability to serve. I did vote for Acevedo, and I'm concerned that if he continues to be quiet, absent, and that the legal issues are serving as a distraction, he needs to step down. Number 2, Mayor Gonzalez, just in general, I was kind of surprised by the tone of some of the social media posts that I saw. And I just hope that we can dedicate the time to studying that new code of ethics or conduct that the council just put into play, so that we can focus a bit more on that, because I feel like often I'm just hearing a lot about, how constituents do enforcing at practicing decorum rules when we come to meetings, our behavior at city council meetings, how we feel about things going on in the city. So I would love and focus on that. I'd also love to hear more messaging from the city about what the city is doing to support families impacted by the pause in SNAP funds. I believe I heard City of San Francisco is covering funds for the residents, and I know that My Parent Liaison is organizing parent donations for families. Would love to hear what San Leandro is doing. And I also share concern about the flock technology, but thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes, sorry, 2 more raised hands on Zoom.
Okay, so what we're going to do, how are we doing on time?
We have approximately 11 minutes left.
Perfect. That's perfect. Then let's just going to keep marching through. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamie M., followed by Lucas. Jamie, you may unmute yourself. Jamie?
Yes, I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jamie, and I am here this evening speaking on behalf of the San Leandro, the League of San Leandro Voters as well. And I'm really dismayed by Brian Acevedo. I hear some support for him, and I voted for him. I like him. He's always been really nice to me and does cool things in the community. But this scandal is huge and expensive and bringing a shocking amount of attention on our city for the wrong reasons. And I would like him to over the past year, at least trust in the whole council has eroded because of all of the sexual harassment lawsuits mixed with the federal investigations. These are the actions of its own members. When an elected official faces federal charges involving misuse of office, it shakes the confidence of all of us. It's a terrible message for our children during these times. And, of course, he's presumed innocent, but it's at the very least a lapse of judgment. And I'm really hoping that the code of conduct's enforced. And if Brian's not going to step down, or before he steps down, wouldn't it be great if he stood up for Suwa Bowen and took a leadership stance in doing the right thing as a model for the other council members to follow? There's a variety of ways to rectify this simultaneously as he wraps up his legal issues. But I wanted my voice to be heard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lucas.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my comment this evening, Mayor and Council. I wanted to make a brief note. Usually I'll say, please spend the people's money wisely and carefully and judiciously. It's not other people's money. It's our money. It's your money. It's everyone's money. Take care of it as you would your own, and maybe even better, given your fiduciary obligations. But I wanted to make an additional comment, aside from my standard, please be responsible with the people's money comment, which is I'm observing over the last year, maybe a year and a half, maybe two, going back to some of the previous allegations, the situation with the previous city manager, what's happening here with Councilmember Jua, all of these indictments, the disciplinary issues that we're going to hear later today, just a general breakdown in just behavior, just the general breakdown in behavior and decorum and civility. And what is going on in this council, I don't even know. But in addition to what appears to be misconduct, potentially criminal misconduct among members of the council, there is also just a breakdown of the process of how this council seems to do work. 3 years ago, 4 years ago, the council had a practice of publishing agenda items for the next 2 or 3 council meetings, where you could see, of course, the agenda would change and officially it would get revised. But right now, we can only get agenda items 3-4 days in advance. Now, we're talking about ordinances to do rent registration, ordinances to freeze rent. We're doing ordinances about tobacco. We're doing disciplinary stuff. How are people supposed to get educated and research a topic with 3 days advance notice about what the council wants to do? Do we really not know what we're going to do 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now? Please help the citizens be involved. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes our final Zoom comment on this.
Okay, thank you very much for all of those public comments. At this point in time, we will close public comment online as well, and we'll move to our public hearing. I think our only item is the tobacco regulation, the zoning modifications. And for this item, to introduce it, we have Planning Manager Wayland Lee.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Gonzalez and members of the City Council. My name is Wayland Lee. I'm the city's Planning Division Manager. And tonight I'll be presenting proposed zoning code amendments related to the sale of tobacco-related products in the city. As you may recall, staff presented this item to the council in July of this year. And at that public hearing, based on the public feedback that you all received, the council made the decision to table the item to allow staff time to conduct additional community engagement with stakeholders, particularly the group of convenience store operators within the city of San Leandro. The code amendments before you this evening include some revisions to staff's initial proposal based on that additional community engagement that was conducted, which I'll talk about more in a moment. I'll start my presentation with just some quick background on the proposed amendments. Over the past few years, the staff has observed an increasing number of illegally established businesses, primarily focused on selling tobacco-related products. In the zoning code, these are defined as tobacconists or cigarette stores, and these are uses that, by definition, receive 75% or more of the gross receipts from tobacco products, or devote more than 20% of the floor area to tobacco sales. And many of these businesses established legally as a retail store of some kind or a gift shop, and they later expand into a tobacconist or cigarette store, often without zoning approval. Enforcement of these uses, as we've mentioned before, has been very challenging under current regulations. And to address that, in 2024, the council adopted a temporary zoning moratorium prohibiting the sale of tobacco products in new locations for a 2-year period. The purpose of the moratorium was to allow staff time to prepare zoning code amendments to establish more reasonable limits to support effective enforcement of our regulations. Staff presented the code amendments to the council in July, and as I mentioned earlier, the council voted to table the item and directed staff to conduct additional outreach with community. Following that July meeting, staff conducted targeted outreach with convenience store operators in the city, and that included both online virtual options and in-person options to communicate with staff. Staff's objective at these meetings was to, one, make it as clear as possible what staff was proposing, to clear up any misunderstandings, and to also listen to and understand the concerns from the public a little better. And coming out of this community engagement effort, staff decided to revise its proposal to address some of the concerns that were heard, while at the same time still meeting staff's overall objective to establish reasonable and enforceable limits. This slide summarizes the proposed code amendments, including the most recent changes that were a result of our community engagement efforts, which are shown in bold. There are essentially 3 key changes that are being proposed now that were changed from the last time we came before the council. First, staff is now proposing to allow tobacco sales as an accessory use at new convenience stores. The previous version of our proposal did not allow this. And staff is comfortable making this proposal because upon further analysis, there's only one zoning district where new convenience stores do not require a conditional use permit or a CUP. And the CUP allows additional oversight over the use. The only zoning district where a convenience store is allowed by right currently without a CUP is the Bayfair TOD zoning district. And staff is recommending making a CUP required in that zone for convenience stores. And that would make it consistent all across the city. And finally, staff is recommending allowing an increase in the maximum display area from 10 linear feet to 15 linear feet. And this is based on feedback from the convenience store group, which indicated that that was necessary for standard shelving configurations. And staff's feeling is that's a pretty reasonable request to allow a slight increase. Staff brought the proposed changes to the Planning Commission in October, and the commission voted to recommend council adoption. At that hearing, there were no public speakers, and staff only received one letter, and that was from an organization called the California Fuels and Convenience Alliance, and they're expressing a neutral position in that letter. In conclusion, staff recommends that the council introduce an ordinance to modify regulations pertaining to tobacco sales in the city, and also adopt an ordinance which would terminate the temporary zoning moratorium on the effective date of the new code amendments. That concludes my presentation. I am available to answer any questions that the council may have.
So thank you for your presentation, and obviously thank you for going back and spending some additional time, because I think at that meeting there were a number of misunderstandings and a couple of adjustments that you made in response to some very practical considerations. I also do want to just very quickly clarify, I may have misheard you. I think you used the expression that we tabled the item. Purely for Robert's rules reasons, we didn't table the item, so we don't need to pull it off the table and all that kind of stuff. We did delay it, and we're glad that you have come back to present to us today. That being said, do we have any clarifying questions on what's been presented? Begin with Councilmember Bolt.
Yes, thank you. I know you did a lot of outreach with the community that came out and spoke, so I really appreciate that. One of the concerns I remember was that there was, I think it was miscommunication, but I want you to let me know. They were really worried about if they sold their business, would the license transfer over? How did that get worked out through this process? Are they going to be able to sell a license and apply for the tobacco license, or how's that going to work?
Yeah, that was one of the things that staff really focused hard on, trying to communicate that to the convenience store owners in the community. I think in summary, each retailer of tobacco products is required to have a tobacco retailer's license. Under the code, that license is not transferable, but if the retailer sells their business, the new owner would be eligible to obtain a tobacco retailer's license. But it wouldn't be an automatic transfer, but they would maintain that right.
And that's consistent with all the other licenses that we have. They have to still apply and provide information.
That's right. The tobacco retailer's license is given to the proprietor of the business. So the individual would secure that license approval. And part of that process is, and the main part of that process is certifying that you will follow all of the city's rules regarding tobacco sales. And that's really important.
Thank you for all the work you guys did.
Seeing no other clarifying questions, right now the time is 7:57. I'm opening the public hearing. Does anyone wish to speak on this item?
Mayor, we've received one in-person comment card, and there is presently one hand raised on Zoom.
Please proceed in person.
Darlene Evans.
Your environment has changed in the city council from the screen to where you sit and where you stand. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in the 1840s created a thing called the Word of Wisdom. It's because there was too much tobacco on the floor and it smelled and so on and so forth. That was about health and about the United States. And we used to do tea at a Boston Tea Party and what it does to countries. I was aghast many, many months ago when there's young people that are the retailers at the tobacco stores. And when you see things in their stores that look like guns, it has nothing to do with tobacco. I went to 2 stores. I was aghast and wondered if the city would do anything about it. When I'm quickly here looking at my cell phone, the age is 21 years of age for tobacco. That wasn't mentioned tonight. That my mother started when she was 14 and had 2 brothers older than her. But when she was 65, bleeding ulcer. And I prayed she'd be so sick that she'd be healthy. She stopped it. She lived till she was 85. And my father never smoked at all. We don't need children to do tobacco and learn to read and write at the same time, because they usually don't do those 2. We have a police department that is over, I don't know, say used. They can't do a lot of things. And as citizens, I really came down here tonight with 3 days. You know, if you were going to have a riot, you would think more than 3 days about having it. If you were going to do a city thing, we don't get to know enough at the senior centers. We don't get to know enough at our schools. We don't get to know enough before
Thank
time.
you. Your time has elapsed. The next, actually, that concludes our in-person comment cards, Mayor.
Okay, so let us move online, please, as we continue our public hearing.
Christopher Bemmer, you are able to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I think I spoke at this when this went into effect a couple years ago. And I believe what I said was, or what I asked them to look into when we were on this pause break, was what kind of impact and what would it take to stop all tobacco sales within the city of San Leandro and be one of the first cities in California to do that and really take some action on healthy living and caring about our community. I think it would be a great step and it would, help out a lot. Obviously, it's going to affect the bottom line, right? Missing out on all those tax dollars. I would really encourage the council to maybe have finance look into that and see what kind of impact that would be and other ways for the city to make money rather than, poisoning its community members. I don't really see, I smoked for over 20 years and it almost killed me. I don't see any benefit to it. I think there's been plenty of research done that, it doesn't do any good for anybody. Even if you're not smoking, it's still going to kill you. So I think the city of San Leandro should really look into that. And those are my comments about that subject.
Thank you. Mayor, that is our last raised hand on Zoom.
Okay, so it's 8:02 and I'm closing the public hearing. With that, we will bring it back to council members for additional comments, discussions, questions, whatever you'd like. Going to Councilmember Riveros Walton.
Thank you. I don't have any comments. I was going to make a motion. So
Okay.
if there's anyone in the queue.
Let me just look down the row. Does anybody else have any comments? Seeing no comments, I will take your motion, Councilmember Riveros Walton.
I'd like to make a motion to do a first reading of the ordinance amending the zoning code to modify regulations pertaining to the sale of tobacco within city limits, and also adopt an ordinance terminating the existing temporary zoning moratorium.
So with that being said, do I have a second? I'm going to go to Vice Mayor.
I will second that.
So I've got a second from Vice Mayor. At this point in time, is there any other discussion? Seeing none, please vote.
Thank you. All votes are in. The motion passes unanimously with Councilmember Azevedo absent.
Okay, at this point in time, we'll move forward in our agenda to item number 9. We do not have any presentations today. So we're going to go on to action items, and we've got item 10A. Before getting started with this item, I do want to announce something, and that's that on October 31st, 2025, the investigation report commissioned by the San Leandro City Council related to Vice Mayor Bowen's complaint against Councilmembers Victor Aguilar and Fred Simon was finalized as of Friday and provided to the city by our independent investigator. We, a limited number of us who were in closed session and not recused from the item, saw that report for the first time today. And starting tomorrow, the attorney-client privilege report will be available to all council members to read in person by contacting City Manager or HR Director Emily Hung. So with that, at this point in time, I'm going to go to Vice Mayor to see if there's any comments or any additional information you'd like to offer regarding your submission.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'm going to share some remarks, and bear with me because I did prepare a PowerPoint slide to go with my remarks, but am unable to share it at this moment. So I'm going to give some overview of it just because this item is without a lot of context, can be confusing to the general community, and I want to be really clear about what is happening and why I'm doing it, and I will need more than 5 minutes. I'm just, oh, good. Oh, good. Okay, I'll try to keep it as succinct as I can. But I have filed the request for disciplinary action with the purpose of trying to ensure that we as a council can lead with integrity, fairness, and ground ourselves in public accountability. I want to begin by grounding this discussion in why I serve and why this is so personal to me. I didn't want to have to force this internal discipline policy to get to this point, but I am willing to do whatever it takes because I really believe that we need to lead with integrity, honesty, and a deep commitment to making systems better, not just for myself, but those who follow. Public service has always been a part of who I am, and accountability and progress, they're not buzzwords to me. This is the core of who I am and how I lead. I filed my HR complaint in January of this year after sustained experiences that caused me harm because I wanted to stop the mistreatment and misconduct that was harming not just me, but others around me. I experienced bullying, intimidation, being dismissed and marginalized, and hearing false statements spread to discredit me. Many of these on both video and audio that are open to the public. I witnessed similar behavior directed towards staff and other council members and believe that when we can advocate and be a voice to others, we need to. I really had hoped that reporting this would stop the behavior, that the system that we created last year would protect people and restore professionalism. But for now 11 months, that silence and avoidance has only allowed me to continue to be harmed. So tonight I'm speaking out not as a personal grievance, but as a matter of governance, accountability, and integrity. It's not easy being a woman on this council, and it never is easy to talk about patterns that undermine respect and professionalism. It's going to take another 131 years until we reach gender equity, and we need to do whatever we can. Certainly, I'm going to do whatever I can to make that faster. Reporting this wasn't about retaliation, it's about responsibility. And I don't presume to know what the investigation findings are. I haven't seen them, but I do know what I experienced and what I saw and how I felt. And honestly, this isn't easy to bring forward, but it's necessary for the council, and I want us to be able to move forward from this. So I want to share a few things for the community to understand that has been really difficult and surprising for me to be able to really grasp, is that as elected officials, yes, we answer to the public. Yes, we answer to the voters during election time. But between elections, we have to answer to each other. We are the standard that govern our conduct. While people can come and speak at council meetings and email us and hold us accountable, absolutely, keep us in check. But it is our job to make sure that we behave better. It is our job that we follow our council code of ethics, that we follow the council commitments and our attributes of high functioning city council. What people don't realize is that we have it laminated in front of us. We talk about it in meetings. This isn't new. I can share this with people. We can post it online, but this is not new information. We talk about it at our priority workshops. We passed our council handbook. We included a code of ethics. It's our job, not HR's, the city attorneys, to enforce the ethical standards we set for ourselves. So what happened and why we're here? The council, after I filed the report, the council, excluding the accused members and myself, also authorized an independent investigation under the direction of the city attorney and staff. I was really hopeful that that would stop the behavior. It was completed months ago, and interviews, document review, and video evidence were all part of that. I'm really happy to learn that what the mayor just shared, that the final report has finally been accepted and that I'll be able to actually see what's in the report, that council members Aguilar and Simon will also be able to see it. If we can't, I know what I experienced and what I felt and what I saw, but I also have blind spots, and I want to be able to learn from that. And I want us to be able to call out that behavior, and I want us to be able to move on from that. So I am really, really happy about that part, but this is just one part, because afterwards, again, we as the council have to decide what we're going to do about it. We get to decide if we're going to let the community see it. We get to decide if we're going to do something about it. We get to decide what the investigator, the independent investigator, was able to substantiate, and we get to decide how we're going to move on from it. I will share that as part of the investigation and the things that I reported, and these are also things that are public, in public meetings, or have been released in public reports from the previous censure. But there has been documented gender bias. There has been bullying and verbal intimidation, especially me during the April 2024 council retreat, as well as the former city manager. That is especially difficult for me to think about, because I came prepared and really excited and determined to advocate for the community, especially the families and residents in my district. And we were not even able to talk about the policy merits or the things that we could possibly do in the city, because I was dismissed and silenced. Retaliatory interference for events that I've tried to do for our community, an anti-hate community event. There's so many things that I have tried to do to genuinely help this community, and too often, because of the decisions of council members Simon and Aguilar, it has become incredibly difficult to do so. And that is at the disservice to the community. The other thing that I want to call to you, thank you so much for finally accepting that report. What I want to say is there are things that are best practices in HR and governance that we can learn from the next time. This is not the first time there has been a complaint. This is not the first time a council member has complained against another council member. There are council members that are sitting up here that have filed complaints, and others in the past. And what you need are impartial, conflict-free investigations. Timely, they should be completed in a timely way so as to not cause harm. The findings need to be shared promptly and urgently, and we need to be protected from retaliation. And the reason that we're here today, the reason that I had to bring this into the public sphere after asking for so long for this to be completed and following the process that was laid out in front of me, is that there is a conflict of interest. The mayor and the council members who are not part of the complaint themselves were also in part of many of these experiences. They were interviewed for it, they were part of it. So there is a question of a conflict of interest, and I'm really glad that we're able to get over that, to accept the report. I really hope that that does not impair our decisions going forward, to be fair and to follow through with accountability. It's been more than 10 months. It's November now, and I just think that I don't want to have to go into 2026 and still be in this position. Other HR investigations, including the former city manager, Fran Robistelli, were completed and resolved within 6 months. Mine is unnecessarily long. I honestly don't want to get into or care to find out why. I want us to be able to move forward. The other thing is that while there's in normal HR investigation, you would separate the complainant and the accused to protect them both. And with me, I have had to show up, be professional, and work with the council members as best as I can. But by sheer process, we are antagonistic, and I have now filed something against other council members, and that does not create an environment conducive to cooperation, and I want us to be able to move on to that. And so finally, I want to talk about the path forward. And again, this is really rooted in process and not politics. I'm glad that we're formally receiving and accepting that HR investigation report. I am very excited to be able to read it. I really want us to continue to implement the council's code of ethics through enforcement, respectful conduct and bias awareness training. I've already separately asked for us to have training on a number of HR-related conflict resolution, bias training, etc. But one of the best things that we do, if in terms of implementing and enforcing our code of ethics, is to be able to recognize it and call it out. So when it happens, we should be able to say it and be able to respond to it. If the findings are substantiated, we have to follow our own procedures. We have to have a letter of reprimand, a statement of disapproval, and admonition, and make changes to this. This process has not been for fun. It's been to make change. And so I really want to say accountability isn't about punishment. It really is about leadership. And I really want all of us to step up and be the leaders that we want to be for the kids that are sitting in this room and the community that cares deeply about this city.
Thank you for your statements. At this point in time, I will go to council members to see if there are any clarifying questions. After that, I will go to public comment on this item. Then we'll come back to any additional discussion should there be any. Okay, so at this point in time, we'll start with Councilmember Simon.
Thank you. I have a few clarifying questions. And I understand it's important for us to follow our procedures here at the city. And in particular, the discipline policy, which is referenced in Vice Mayor Bowen's letter that is online. But I don't see the discipline policy online. When I click to open it, it says not available. I don't know if other people are having that problem too. So I noticed that, and I went ahead and made some copies in case you can't see it online of the section that I would like to talk about. So I have a copy for my colleagues, and I have a copy for the public. Here you go. Here you go.
It's online. I don't have it today. As of today.
Oh, it's now on? Okay. Okay, yeah, I heard from the public that it was down all
So
weekend.
what we're going to do is we're just going to pause the timer. So I think that your point is well taken. The public did not see it online. We can always look into the why of that, but what we can say for the benefit of the public is that it is online right now.
I can't open it
Sit.
right now. I've tried and I cannot open it.
Okay, so
So
let's-
I've made a copy if we can move forward.
Yeah, so your time's off, so definitely feel free to distribute.
Okay, I've
I'll gladly
distributed,
take one.
And this is for the public.
Yeah.
Would you like me to bring it down?
I would be totally fine with that.
Okay.
Please proceed.
Are we okay with the Brown Act on this?
Yeah, not a problem.
It's just a single page.
So I would encourage you, if you're having trouble finding it online, you can Google the City of San Leandro Administrative Code.
So the link, if you're on the agenda, you go to the link and you can't find it.
Okay, so we will restart your timer if you would proceed with your question or questions.
Okay, in the discipline policy and the copy that I handed out, can I share your copy? Oh, sorry. The copy that I handed out, the top of the page, and I had underlined it in blue ink, or I guess it's black ink in your copy. This is section 1.13 6.110 of the discipline policy. And on there, it states that a request for discipline must be submitted within 6 months of the date of the alleged violation. So my question is, how can it be allowed to add this item tonight to the agenda if it's been nearly 10 months since Vice Mayor Moen submitted her complaint for the investigation, including the alleged violations?
Okay, so I'm going to direct that to legal. City Attorney, please.
Thank you, Mayor. According to, first of all, the policy, which is at Chapter 1-13 of the San Leandro Administrative Code, is that there are the policy is to be construed and executed in coordination and not in conflict with all applicable state and federal laws, the San Leandro Municipal Code, the San Leandro Administrative Code, applicable city department policies, including all whistleblower statutes, complainant and victim privacy and confidentiality statutes, and the California Public Records Act. In short, that means that all the laws of the United States, of California, locally apply and would be applied against the policy, including any tolling of the statute of limitations. So there's a lot of case law on this, and I'm happy to share it with the council in the future, but just to summarize, the fact that Councilmember Vice Mayor Bowen is involved in the first administrative process, which was to file a complaint under city policy while not able or actively pursuing another, which would be the request for discipline, is not grounds for precluding Vice Mayor for later commencing a request for discipline upon the conclusion of the first. The law does not doesn't look kindly upon that, and since the 6-month rule is subject to tolling of the statute of limitations when an investigation of the same matter is pending and otherwise under the city council's power. There's also the doctrine of equitable tolling. So a court, if this were to be challenged, would look to, are there equitable tolling principles that would toll the statute of limitations? So the fact that she initially filed the investigation complaint, the complaint that prompted an investigation, tolls the statute for this second administrative process, which is the request for discipline.
Okay, so to summarize, this statement of 6 months of the date of the alleged violation is not applicable?
It's been told. So that 6-month statute of limitations has been told because the initial complaint did recognize behavior from within the 6 months.
Okay. On the same page, the next underline states, the request must contain specific charges which the proposed discipline or censure is based and sufficiently specific facts and allegations as to the charges. And the letter that was attached did not include specific facts.
Is that a question about the
Yeah,
legal inadequacy?
Yes, so how can this be allowed to the agenda if, again, the specific facts were not included as defined in the discipline policy?
Okay, we'll come to legal counsel on that.
So looking at Vice Mayor Bowen's complaint, give me 1 second. Not complaint, request for discipline. She does identify the city's investigation, which is presumably, and I would look to Vice Mayor Bowen to confirm, that it's the investigation that the mayor identified of her original complaint that, yes, it did commence in March of this year, around approximately March of this year, and has just completed as of October 31st. So if that's to confirm for Vice Mayor, if that's the subject, then that would pertain to the facts, or that's the facts, the information, that now the council, as a body, individual council members may now review. And then the council as a body will decide how it wants to address that particular investigation report, which is the gravamen of the facts that support her request for discipline. So they do exist, essentially. The facts do exist. It's now up to the council to decide how it wants to address those facts in the investigation report.
Okay,
I would
so
point to Vice Mayor to confirm, if you would.
So to be clear, there's only one question that's pending, and that question is whether the subject report that was presented to the council last Friday, if that is the subject matter of your request for discipline.
Yes, that's the subject matter, as well as the fact that it contains the corroborating facts or the support that I would present. I can absolutely name some the different actions out loud here to the public. There was gender bias in the District 1 appointment in February of 2024. There was bullying during the council retreat of April of 2024. There, in April 2024, just a few weeks later, there was also misconduct and retaliation by regarding an anti-API hate event that I was a panelist on. There was gender bias in city manager recruitment in June 2024. That's also been well documented in the last censure hearing. There's intimidation of female staff and leadership in the year 2024, numerous accounts of that. There, during the censure hearing, there was no contrition or behavioral change. In November 2024 and in January of 2025, there was misconduct and bullying during the committee and vice mayor appointments. I would like to note that almost all of these can be seen in public video, and so there is available information to support this, and the mayor and council members, excluding us, Councilmember Simon Aguilar and I have had access to this full report and certainly know what the allegations and the supporting facts are.
So thank you. So at this point in time, I will continue with you, council member, and then just Councilmember Votis Walton. Certainly, just as a point of order, if you can punch yourself in. Go ahead. Thank you.
Apologies. I just, point of order, are we able to ask questions to Vice Mayor Bowen? Or is it questions, legal questions to staff?
So at this point in time, I'm going to get legal
Only
advice on
legal.
this
Okay, thank
specific. If you can continue.
Okay, thank you.
So I'm gonna clarify that answer when I come back to you. So punch in Q, because I want to kind of weigh in and explore that a little bit. Right now, I think Councilmember Simon has the floor. He is exploring legal and I think non-legal questions. And when I come to you, you can explore both.
Okay, thank you. The next question I have has to deal with the Administrative Policy 1000, which is a policy prohibiting against harassment, discrimination, retaliation, and abusive conduct. And also for reference, in the city manager and I spoke about these items earlier. So this is not new between the city manager and I. But for the rest of the council, if you're not familiar with that policy, I have a copy, just like the last one. And this is a public document. This is nothing confidential. So I have a copy for the public too, just like the last one. And so in May of 2025, I asked the city attorney if I could mention to people about this investigation by Vice Mayor Bowen. And I was expressly told, no, I cannot mention it is a violation of, and if I do mention it, it's a violation of policy. And the HR director followed up with me immediately and emailed me a copy of AP 1000, which you have a copy of the page that talks about confidentiality. And that is the attachment A, guidelines for formal complaints. Section 5, and it's underlined, where it states, the complaining party should be told that the investigation will be handled as confidentially as possible. The complaining employee and all other individuals who are subsequently interviewed must be advised that they are not to discuss the matter with anyone else. My question is, I've got a few questions. One is, how is it that the public was commenting on this investigation on September 2nd, 2025? And I submitted an email, but I hadn't gotten a response on this.
And to whom did you submit that email?
To the city manager, city attorney.
Okay, so to the extent that you know how it is that the public would have reason to comment on this, feel free to weigh in.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In the beginning of September, there were quite a few public commenters that commented on the fact that there was an investigation into a complaint. There were individuals who were interviewed through the investigation who were not employees and who were not members of the city council. Those individuals have no requirement to keep confidential what they know to be true.
Okay.
Now,
please proceed.
Does this policy state complaining employee and all other individuals who are interviewed? It doesn't state employee individuals, it just says individuals. So should they have been notified to keep this information confidential, to follow our policy?
So I'll go to legal with that question, namely, should interviewees have been informed to maintain it confidential?
It's my understanding that they are notified, but whether the city can, these are non-city employees, of course, is my understanding that they are notified, but the city has no control over the non-city employees for them to say whatever they want or do what they will.
So can you clarify? I understand the city attorney saying they are notified and they can't talk to people, but I'm hearing the city manager saying they can. So what is the city's stance on this?
Yes, I want to clarify a little bit of language. First, AP 1000 applies to city employees. Right? We cannot apply a city administrative procedure to members of the public that got interviewed. But what I have heard is a clear statement that interviewees, by process, were informed of the confidentiality. But our ability to apply AP 1000, that can be applied to city employees, but not to members of the public.
Okay. My next question is, how is it that Vice Mayor Bowen was commenting on this investigation on October 20th, 2025, and I was told I could not?
So I'm going to start with legal on if Councilmember Simon was a level of prohibition and basically address the essence of his question.
Yes, so both parties, all parties were advised, according to policy, to remain confidentiality. I think that's the facts. What happened afterwards, I don't have any specific knowledge of any of that, but I do know and would ask that they be confirmed, but it's my understanding that all parties, interviewees, complainants, subjects, were advised on the confidentiality of the investigation.
Okay, so as I've heard tonight, and I think we all agree, we should be following our procedures here at the city. And as I understand it, us council members were advised, and per this policy, should have kept this confidential. And as we're talking about tonight, it's not confidential because it's, the whole world is listening right now online about this and has been since Vice Mayor Bowen brought this up on October 20th. So my question is, next question, what are the repercussions for violating policy? And does the city manager or city attorney address these issues when these violations are known to occur?
Sorry, for council members in particular, it's incumbent upon council members to raise a concern about another council member. We oversee these individuals and they can facilitate work like an independent investigation. But if we, As individuals have concerns that we believe need to be addressed, it's up to us individually to raise those concerns.
Okay, so even if there is a policy that staff has helped write, they know there's a violation, they will keep quiet on it?
The policy with respect to our conduct is to be enforced by us. We are their superiors. So it is incumbent upon us to enforce our policies about how we will behave.
Yeah, I'll have a comment on that later.
Okay.
Those are my questions for now. I'll have comments later.
So we're going to keep going in order with questions. So the next person that I have in queue for questions. So if you've got a point of order, okay, so I'm going to punt, you have the floor for a point of order.
Since I am making the request, and can I clarify information since we are discussing the merits of the request for discipline that I have made?
During public comment, or during council member comment, we'll have time to explore all of this. Right now, I really want to focus on questions. And I've been trying to be pretty attentive to questions being asked as opposed to commentary.
It's not commentary, it's answering the question.
You will have an opportunity to share your thoughts, your perspectives on anything that's been raised, as will all other council members. So, Councilmember Aguilar, please proceed.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. My question is with regards to Government Code Section 54950, with regards to the city's policy in Brown Act, with regards to disclosure of the underlying findings. What did that undermine the process of fairness, transparency, and due process at the city's policy?
So your question is, if the findings were publicly disclosed, would that undermine? Is that your question?
Since they have not been publicly disclosed prior to scheduling this meeting.
Got it. Thank you very much. So absent any findings that are public, how can there be this request? I'm going to go to legal counsel on that.
So the policy, this is the part of the policy, and this is again in section 1.13.110. A request for discipline may be submitted by any council member in writing to the city clerk. That has happened. Any council member's request for discipline is a matter of public record. A request for discipline must be submitted. Yes, we talked about that. A council member has to provide information to the council concerning the specific conduct for which discipline is requested. And the vice mayor has identified that it's the investigation report that she has referenced in her complaint.
As well as providing an itemized list, but yes.
That's right. So where we are here now is that the council is considering the discipline and whether further investigation is required. We clearly know that investigation has occurred, or whether discipline short of censure is warranted, or to move towards censure. So that's where we are in the process, and that's what's the subject of the discussion tonight.
Thank you for answering that question. That's my question.
Thank you. At this point in time, I go to Councilmember Riveros Walton for questions.
I don't have a question, but I would like to request, we do have some young children in the audience and it's quite late. I would like to hear from specifically people, I mean, there's a sleeping child. And I would like to accommodate parents with young children that are here to speak. I would like to request formally for that accommodation for those speakers.
There's nobody else in queue, so your timing is impeccable. At this point in time, we will go to public comment on this item.
Mayor, we currently have 15 cards in person, and there are 7 hands raised on Zoom.
Okay, let us proceed as we usually do with 2 minutes per speaker. Thank you.
Would you like to start with in person or?
In person, please.
Thank you. the first?
But I do have an 11-year-old who has a car. Could I prioritize his so that my husband can pick him up? And then I will go later?
Thank you for your request. I appreciate that. So to the extent that we have children speaking, please prioritize the child that is speaking. Are you able to identify, if there are any children that are here to speak, can their parent, guardian, person accompanying them please stand? So we've got one child speaking. Would you please take that individual first?
Hello, okay. Hi, my name is Valentino Salazar, and I'm 11 years old. I wanted to say something about Council Member Fred Simon. He's always come to our park and talks with people in our neighborhood. He listens and tries to help, even when it's not easy. My parents told me that real leaders do what's right, not what's popular, and that's what Fred Simon does. I've seen him care about everyone, not just certain people. I think that's really brave. I hope everyone on the council remembers that being fair and kind matters the most. Thank you, Mr. Simon, for showing us what a good leader looks like.
Thank you. The next speakers are Jenny Madsen, Nancy Rafaleff, and Bridget Salazar. I will be calling 3 speakers at a time. If the speakers could line up on the side of the room as your names are called. Thank you.
So my name is Jenny Madsen, and this is what happens when I write things out in advance. It changes, because what I want to say now is I said in November of 2024, when this whole censure thing came up, that it was going to be a mistake and it was going to hurt this city and this council, and I believe it has. I wrote a short email at that time. Maybe I should have gone on longer, because I have a whole history of this. I fought this kind of sexist, what you want to call sexist. I was in geology. I was in science when there were no other girls in the room. And I got some terrible treatment, but I worked hard, and because there was nothing to be done about it. But 50 years on, now there's something that they can do about it. But the initial action, standing up for yourself, is only beneficial if what happens afterwards. And this is a mess. I'm really upset about this. When I stood up and applauded your courage, and I don't know, it was January, for standing up for yourself, I should have said that. It's what you do afterwards that makes whether this is going to be a benefit to you or to anybody around you. I only know you guys from being on council. It's not like I know any of you personally. And I believe that you are not ignorant, narrow-minded, mean-spirited, or self-serving. But I believe that there are people who are behind the curtains on this who are. And I'll say Robustelli's name out loud because I put her in that group. I want you to do what you need to do here.
Thank you. Your time has elapsed. The next speakers are Nancy Rafaleff, Bridget Salazar, and Melissa Wong.
Good evening, everybody. I just want to say that I know Fred Simon. I have never seen anything disrespectful in him. He is a family man. He is a husband, a father, a son. When I first met him, I was having some problems in the neighborhood. He didn't know me from anything, and he immediately tried to help. He is always available to anybody in the neighborhood. He's just a kind, caring person. shocked and can't believe that there are any, anything against this person. It just really shocks me, and I'm just here as like a character witness. I'm not speaking really like fantastic, but it's from my heart. And he's always been there for me and for many other people in his district, and he would probably help anyone out of the district. That's the kind of person he is. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. The next three speakers are Bridget Salazar, Melissa Wong, Lee Thomas.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. I'm here to support Fred Simon. Although Fred is not my council member, he's actually, in Washington Manor District. He's been one of the most trusted and visible leaders that I've seen in the community. Everything that you just heard is exactly what I want to echo, is that he is a family man. He really cares a lot about everyone in the community. I see how much passion goes into the work with many of you as well. But the passion that he brings, I don't want to undermine what Vice Mayor is bringing to everyone's attention. However, sometimes passion is kind of distorted. And many times, men sometimes get singled out because, unfortunately, it is sometimes an easy card to use. I'm not trying to undermine anything. I did look at a lot of the information online. There was a lot of information I couldn't find online. And I feel like it's a little bit hard to make, and it just sounds from Fred and Victor's point of view as well, as lack of information to really understand and make clear decisions here. However, when speaking on behalf of his character, I've never seen, I've never witnessed, I've known him for many years. And I'm here, my son's here, others from the Washington Manor Association are here to say that he's a good person. I don't agree with any of these accusations. And I hope that everybody in the public, yes, there's a lot of negativity that's happening, but that does not justify to have a witch trial and start pointing the finger at folks just because maybe there's a previous allegation or
Thank you.
such.
Your time has elapsed. The next speakers are Melissa Wong, Lee Thomas, Arlene Lum.
Hi there, here I am again. I want to talk specifically about the process. I'm not sure why the public is hearing this. Apparently, there is an investigation, but we have not read anything, and it sounds like not everybody did. And here we are trying to consider something. I actually did print out in the library, so thank goodness for the library again. So the request for discipline, the request must contain specific charges. It did not. So although we want to take sides, I have no idea what's going on. It's hard. So I don't even know if the request was adequate enough, and the request said that it was filed January 2024, and I'm hearing today it's 2025. So even the request right now is misprinted. And then there's several things that could be considered: consultation with the mayor, letter of reprimand, statement of disapproval, or admonishment. But right now, you guys are in the agenda to consider censorship. Without looking at the report, without any of these other options, it just makes a little bit of no sense to me. And I thought I had at least above average intelligence. So I take complaints very seriously, and I want to look at both sides, and it's really difficult. I said when we had the budget adoption, everybody here has a piece of my heart, and I want to see if there's any learning opportunities, but I just feel like something's broken. Exactly a year ago, November, we had this, and I heard my voice escalating, and I try not to because I think I'm a nice person. I don't know what's going on right now, but please, I try to follow this policy, and I don't even know when things are happening. Is it 6 months ago? Is
Thank
it,
you. Your time has elapsed. The next speakers are Lee Thomas, Arlene Lum, and Mitch Heitema.
Get a moment of clarification that I checked for non-public agenda items, not this topic. Right?
At this point in time, we're on agenda item 10.
Okay.
The non-public comment was a little bit ago.
Oh, okay.
The non-agenda public comment was a while ago.
Wasn't called.
We had a number of folks
Yeah,
speak.
wasn't called. Oh, yeah.
So what I'd like to do,
And I didn't want to interrupt your
no,
process.
thank you, I appreciate that. You're very kind. So at this point in time, let's go ahead and take this out of order because you did have a card. And so thank you for raising it to our attention. I know it's kind of a little bit like
sure.
we're taking a little sandwich break here.
No problem.
But let's go ahead and take it. Please proceed.
Got it. Thank you, Mayor. I just want to note, we're the progressives right now. They need to own up. Some of them have, but they need to own up to putting Brian Azevedo, Victor Aguilar, Fred Simon in office because they have dragged our city through the mud. Let's be real. I'm not talking about regular liberals or folks who truly care about making San Leandro a fairer and better place for everyone. I'm talking about a small circle of far-left activists who push their own agenda no matter what the cost. They spent years calling anyone who disagreed with them potential racists or turning a blind eye to the corruption and chaos right in front of them. Well, congratulations to that group. Look what you've done. Now that your chosen council member Azevedo is facing criminal charges accused of bribery and trying to make money off of city contracts he supported, it is a disgrace. And what's worse, he refuses to step down and reportedly so he can get his CalPERS pension. That means taxpayers will be paying for him for decades. As for Aguilar and Simon, no criminal charges, but let their misconduct is costing us big time. Potential legal fees that will cost hundreds and thousands of dollars if the lawsuit goes through with the former city manager. And now there's another investigation that you've heard tonight against council member Sue Bowen. Enough is enough. San Leandro deserves better than this embarrassment that is happening right now. Azevedo, Aguilar, Simon, do the right thing. Step down and stop making people you were elected to serve pay for your mess. I refuse as a resident in the city to continue to stand here and watch female council members, female elected officials take a beating like they have from the individuals here in this council. I'm a father of 2 young ladies, and I feel like we have to do now to set the tone and precedent for future elected women leaders in the city.
Thank you, sir. Your time has elapsed. Resuming public comment on the agenda item, Arlene Lum.
Thank you. Good evening. I'm here today to share my positive experience working with Councilman Member Fred Simon. Fred is a very dedicated man. He takes his job representing District 4 very seriously. He attends most of our Washington Manor Homeowner Association meetings and provides us with updates of what's happening in the city. During our meetings, he takes our neighbors' concerns back and works with city staff to try to get answers and resolve the issues. If it seems that he's very assertive sometimes, it's because he's trying to get answers back to us. He knows he's going to have to provide us with answers because that's what we expect of him. Then I've known Fred for at least 5 years, and he's always been an admirable man. I hope you can set aside the differences as a council and find ways to communicate better, to work together as a council for the betterment of the community. Thank you.
The next 3 speakers are Mitch Heitema, Tim Holmes, and Caroline Jones.
Good evening, all. My name is Mitch Heidema, and I am part of the League of San Leandro Voters.
We learned recently that Vice Mayor Bowen made a filing about disrespectful behaviors, which resulted in an investigation, which started months ago. Given Councilmember Simon's line of questions, I think it's worth noting that we all learned about this investigation during a recent City Council meeting when the budget for this investigation was approved. While I don't remember what date that was the date that I and everybody else that I know of learned about this investigation. I myself have witnessed surprisingly disrespectful behavior from Councilmember Aguilar and also, to a lesser extent, I grant you, but also Councilmember Simon toward Vice Mayor Bowen at multiple meetings. As Vice Mayor Bowen has said, there's video, there's audio. I've, in great surprise, listened to and watched some of these. So I have been especially curious to hear the outcome of the investigation. I'm really glad to hear that it has finalized and that you all will be able to see the outcome of the investigation at least. I would like very much for the public to be able to see the outcome of the investigation. I think it's worth noting that speakers tonight who've spoken for Councilmember Simon may well have excellent interactions with him, but that doesn't mean he hasn't also behaved badly in other circumstances. And this is part of the reason why we all need to see the results of the investigation. Thanks.
The next three speakers are Tim Holmes, Caroline Jones, Maureen Dupree Dominguez.
Hello all. My name is Tim Holmes. I'm not here to speak in anger. I'm afraid I'm further along the 5 stages of grief at this point. I've lived in San Leandro for 30 years, attended a lot of city council meetings, run school board and council campaigns, spoken many times, not only before you, but before many San Leandrons who've held the seats before you. This city has a long history of, well, a very long history, and that long history includes a lot of behavior no different than what Vice Mayor Bowen has experienced, and it's just as unacceptable. We like to believe we've moved past this kind of behavior, that we've all evolved to be better, that we've evolved to be more respectable, more honorable. But the history we're living through, not only in our country, but in this room tonight, makes it crystal clear we're not. We have not. We should never need to demand that process be followed, be applied. We should never need to state that there must be accountability, as Vice Mayor Bowen has, yet here we are. We should never be made to say we expect better. We expect better. We need better. Finally, I'd like to say that in my 30 years in San Leandro, and of all the council members, Sue Bowen is the hardest working, most honorable, and most courageous council member I've had the privilege to know. Thank you.
Thank you. The next three speakers are Caroline Jones, Maureen Dupree Dominguez, and Pauline Cutter.
I wrote this before finding out about the results being completed on Friday, which I'm really glad to hear about, but the spirit of my letter still remains. I sent this to City Council. I'm unsure if it was received in time. Mayor Gonzalez and members of the San Leandro City Council. I'm a San Leandro resident, a constituent of Councilmember Suha Bowen, and a woman deeply invested in the ethical functioning of this city's government. I'm outraged by the continued lack of transparency and accountability regarding the formal HR complaint filed by Councilmember Bowen nearly 11 months ago, and I'm urging you in the strongest possible terms to release the independent investigation report and take public disciplinary action as appropriate. This council has already censured Councilmembers Fred Simon and Victor Aguilar for their mistreatment of the former city manager, also a woman. This alone should have triggered an immediate course correction towards higher standards of professionalism, ethical conduct, and respect for women in leadership. Instead, the pattern has continued and those in power have remained silent. Councilmember Bowen has reported the same hostile, bullying, gender-based behavior from these same individuals and filed a formal complaint with HR in January. The city hired an independent investigator, reviewed videos, emails, conducted interviews. The work is done, the report exists, yet the City Council has withheld it for nearly a year. This is not due process, it is obstruction, and it sends a clear message The safety, credibility, and dignity of women in leadership are negotiable in San Leandro. So let me be clear, San Leandro taxpayers paid for an investigation. Let me skip to the end because you're going to cut me off. The residents and the women of San Leandro are not passive observers. We are watching. If the city council refuses to uphold basic standards of ethics and professionalism, you will leave us with no choice but to hold each of you accountable electorally, publicly, and legally where necessary. San Leandro can do better. And if this council will not, the citizens will make sure that the next ones do. I'll yield my second.
Thank you. The next three speakers, Maureen Dupree Dominguez, Pauline Cutter, and Chuan Tang.
Marlene Dupree Dominguez, resident of District 5 for 17 years here in San Leandro. Vice Mayor Bowen is my city council representative. I campaigned for her, I voted for her, and I'm here to support her request for discipline. I'm speaking to implore the council to hold all of its members to account when it comes to the ethics violations that are laid out in Vice Mayor Bowen's statement. I look forward to reading those findings myself when they are released to the public, the findings of the independent investigator, and I look forward to seeing the council take action to enforce its own ethics code. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speakers are Pauline Cutter, Chuan Tang, and Jennifer Molina.
Good evening. It's fun to be on this side of the dais rather than that side. And obviously my speech has changed a little bit, or my comments, and I'm really happy to know that it's going to be released, and hopefully the public will get some parts of it that we can, because it has been something in the community. And I just want to say I'm really glad that there are members of the community who really support their council members. It's really good that council members are supported, but that's why you hire an individual, an investigator who has nothing to do with the city, who comes in and interviews people and tries to get the facts, because those facts matter. This complaint and other legal issues looming over the council, I really encourage you all to confront them, to get to the bottom of them, to figure out what it is, as unpleasant as it may be, and get past them so we can only focus on San Leandro. Whether innocent or guilty, true or false, corruption or harassment, they're grave matters of public interest. And this is our city, as it is your city, and we care a lot about it. And we really would like to see this get dealt with and for us to be able to move on. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speakers are Chuan Tang, Jennifer Molina, and Selena Reynes.
Hi, my name is Tren Tang. I'm a resident of San Leandro, and I'm a business owner in the city, and I'm also a female voter. I'm extremely concerned about the allegations of bullying and harassment of other women leaders on our city council. It is inexcusable. I would like to voice my concern also around the delinquent investigation. The length of time it took to complete, 10 months, is also inexcusable. I would like an answer as to why it took so long to complete. I would also like that report, that investigation, to be made public. It is inexcusable that it has taken so long, and of course the public wants to know why. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speakers are Jennifer Molina and Selena Reynes.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Jennifer Molina, and I'm here tonight as a D5 resident who believes deeply in transparency and respective leadership in our city government. Honestly, I really wish I was here standing to talk about how we can collectively improve our schools, mental health services, build more affordable housing, really the things that can really make San Leandro thrive. But instead, I'm here because I can't stay silent while bullying, harassment, and gender discrimination takes place among those elected to serve us. I want to express my full support for Vice Mayor Bowen and the leadership she continues to show for San Leandro. Her courage, advocacy, and her commitment to listening to our constituents are exactly what we need right now in local government. She represents the kind of public service member our city should be proud of. While at the same time, I'm deeply troubled by the multiple reports of bullying, gender discrimination, retaliation within our city's leadership. I personally believe these are not personality conflicts. These are serious breaches of trust that damage morale, drive away competent city workers that we need, and erode the faith residents have in government. I respectfully urge the council to release the findings of the HR investigation to the public immediately so public can see the issues that are being taken seriously and addressed transparently. Take a public stand against bullying, gender discrimination. Make it clear that this behavior has no place in city government. Hold city employees accountable for actions that violate principles of equity, respect, and public service. We deserve better. We deserve a city government that models the values we teach our children: honesty, fairness, and respect. Please show this community that integrity still matters, that leadership means more than holding a title. It means setting a new standard. Thank you for your time and for doing what's right.
Thank you. The next speaker is Selena Reynes. Yes, I was a council member from January 2023 to January 2024, and I served with several council members here before resigning for personal reasons. Here's what I witnessed while on council. Rumor spreading and name calling of Councilmember Bowen and our former city manager by council members Simon and Aguilar, some in particular from Councilmember Aguilar that I would describe as slanderous. Boys club environment where bad behavior is excused, as we've seen the repercussions with disgraced Councilmember Azevedo. Bullying Councilmember Bowen publicly and through whisper campaigns, and in some cases organized letter to the editor campaigns for doing nothing more than her job. Lack of accountability or any reflection on or impact on behavior, as we're seeing in real time as Councilmember Simon searches for legal loopholes around this item, which was incredibly painful to watch tonight. And clear gender bias during the appointment process for my replacement. For example, Councilmember Simon was championing a candidate who he knew had harassed me on the campaign trail over the most qualified candidate by far, who happened to be a woman. And there's documented gender bias also in the prior searches for city managers. I really could go on. What I want to say is I believe SUA, because I know how difficult being on this council was for me as a woman, as a young mother. I clearly found it impossible, which is why I'm not in the position that you are in right now. The city needs to be able to move forward, and that can really only happen with accountability and transparency. Our city deserves so much better, and honestly, this whole ordeal, just as Brian Azevedo's criminal charges make me feel ashamed of this city, and it's a terrible feeling to have as someone who cared about this city, cares about this city very much, cared about it enough to run. It's a terrible feeling to have. I hope that this council can survive this and deal with it appropriately, and I hope that you make an appropriate decision tonight on how to deal with it. Thank you, that's all. Thank you. We have one final speaker card from Yelena Nedelko.
Good evening. As a San Leandro resident, I care deeply about the health and effectiveness of our city government. A respectful, transparent, and accountable city council is essential for our community to function well and maintain public trust. Given this, I urge the council to take meaningful next steps to address misconduct and ensure a safe, respectful working environment for everyone who serves our city now and in the future. San Leandro deserves a council that models the accountability it asks of others. I also want to express my deep respect and appreciation for Vice Mayor Bowen and the work she continues to do for the community, even under these incredibly difficult circumstances. Her commitment and professionalism reflects the values we hope to see modeled by all city leaders. Thank you, Vice Mayor Bowen, for your bravery and leadership. We are all watching, and we will continue to seek and fight for accountability. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that is the last speaker card we received here in the room.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is just to absolutely confirm no one else here wants to speak, because I will close this off completely and then we'll go purely online. No later responses to something you hear online. Anybody in the room want to speak? Okay, I have one more speaker. Ms. Evans.
I'm truly on the fence
I've been to the city council for years. Sometimes people say, we're not ready to start. Well, she's here, we're ready. Integrity was listed verbally when there was a prior city manager. I met him once at a church and he revealed something to me that told me of his character, which I thought was very good. He's now National City or wherever he's at. We also had a police chief that went somewhere else. Kindness, if you haven't got anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. That's my mother's words. And yes, no, or maybe be your answer. We are a conglomerate of people from all over, all times, all places. It looks bad to see our environment, but it is even worse when you take not a person, a place, or a thing to be your objective. You should leave happier than when you came. I was given a blessing, and it was about having mercy for other people. I'm noticing some physical changes because I'm old, I'm 78. But your record and your music of yourself is important. Make it matter. I'm come here and I get not a feeling, but I get that we should be working to make America. I give you the assignment. It's kind of odd, but it's the Erie Canal Part 2. It's an hour. You will see on that.
Thank you. Your time has elapsed.
Okay, seeing no other raised hands at this point in time, we're going to do, what are you doing way back there? We need you up here. Anybody else want to speak? Because what I don't want to do, just get your cards, folks, because we need to just get lined up because we need to take our break here. I want to take a break before we go online. We always take a break at 9 o'clock, and it is now 9:11.
Okay.
If you would proceed, please.
Okay, thank you. My name is David Anderson, and I want to, just a clarification. You guys said you just received the final investigative report, independent report, this Friday?
On Friday, the
And
31st.
The whole council has not seen the final, and you're going to make a decision tonight on disciplinary action? If you can, you know.
I just want to be very clear because there appears to be a lot of confusion among the public. And so I'm going to take a pause right here in your time because I think for the same thing for our speakers online. Tonight is just whether we should agendize a discussion of disciplinary action. It is not a determination of any sort of disciplinary action tonight.
Okay.
This
that's
is
one
just
more
from a
clarification.
process perspective. Today, there's been a request for it. And now we're going to determine whether we want to proceed to put that on the agenda to discuss.
Okay, that's good. Got a clarification. Thank you.
You're most welcome.
Mike McGuire. I think this is today. Yeah, so just quickly here, I think the public is always being asked to comment on things before they've seen the underlying information. And this is a case of that. So I am relieved to hear that it's just agendizing it rather than reaching an actual decision before the council or the public has seen the report. So, but I would certainly hope you not take any binding action till after the public has had a chance to see the report, along with, of course, the council, you know, who definitely need to see the report. Okay, so yeah, so I think, yeah, we should all see the report and we should think about what to do about it.
Thank you.
So that is our last public comment in person. We're closing public comment in person. It is 9:14, and we are going to take a break until 9:21. So at 9:22. At 9:22, when this cell phone says 9:22, I'm going to hit the gavel and we'll begin. Okay, it's 9:22. As promised, we are reconvening. At this point in time, we will open public comment online.
The first three speakers online are Christopher Bammer, Deborah Acosta, and Mike Katz-Lakabe.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I guess first of all, I would like to just point out how proud and strong I think Councilmember Bowen is for standing up for herself and going through this process. I actually think this is quite fast for legal process within the government, right? Keeping the information away from the citizens. If you would have hired high dollar lawyers like the former city manager and former police chief, you probably would have got your results a lot faster. I think there's enough information between the three council members in question tonight that they all three need to go. So talking about putting something on the agenda for disciplinary action, let's escalate that to removal. How is that process? I asked for it about Mr. Azevedo. What can we do as citizens to start the process of removing these people from office? Obviously, they're causing problems and we're not getting any work done. How much money? What's the price tag on this already? I mean, this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. Maybe let Azevedo get his deal so we can get some of our money back. I mean, I as a citizen, as a business, as a family member of somebody that owns a business here, it's embarrassing. People ask me, I have pictures of Azevedo wanting to be friends with me and posting online and stuff like that. And I thought that, you know, Fred Simon, would consider him a friend, right? I've had conversations with him and dialogue. We ran against each other for city council. But these problems right here tonight, it's what he asked sounded like he was just looking for loopholes in the system to get it thrown out. I don't know. You guys can't comment on this file, on this finding. We paid for some investigation that we can't even see the findings. That's ridiculous. That needs to be out to the public immediately. You guys got to see it. I want to see it, right? I want to know how much money
Thank
everybody else
you,
got.
sir. Your time has elapsed. The next speaker is Deborah Acosta.
Good evening, actually. Deborah Acosta, President of the Mission Bay Residents Association, CEO and founder of We Excel, a public benefit corporation here in San Leandro, League of San Leandro voter member, and District 4 resident. Good evening, Mayor Gonzalez, Vice Mayor Bowen, and council members. San Leandro deserves a council that abides by its own rules. The council member handbook, its final version adopted this year, is clear. Section 4F requires council members to treat one another, staff, and the public with respect. Section 4G directs the presiding officer, the mayor, to enforce those rules. Those words weren't written for show. These rules were adopted to guarantee fairness and protect our city from exactly this kind of turmoil. Vice Mayor Bowen and many others that have spoken today are simply asking that those standards be honored and that the completed investigation is addressed transparently. That's not a political demand, it's compliance with city policy. Mayor Gonzalez, I know you value San Leandro's reputation as much as we do. Transparency here isn't a risk, it's the leadership we need. Tonight, I respectfully ask that this council release the findings of the completed investigation to the public as soon as possible. As appropriate, apply disciplinary action as outlined in the handbook and established by precedent. Reaffirm the mayor's duty under Section 4G to enforce the rules consistently and transparently. As a local resident with global partnerships poised to invest in our city, I want to point to San Leandro as a place where accountability and good governance are real. Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and council members for your service and for choosing transparency, integrity as the way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Mike Katz-Lakabe.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of City Council, and staff and public. First, thank you to Vice Mayor Bowen for speaking up about what she has been subjected to. and to model the behavior and integrity we should expect from all of our elected officials. I'm also outraged and disappointed that she should ever have had to experience this in an elected position. Even without reading the report, the testimonies from not one, but two former members of the city council and a former city manager, in addition to her own testimony and statements, make it clear that there is a pattern of unacceptable and inexcusable behavior. The residents of San Leandro voted for these members of the city council. It's to us, the people, the residents of San Leandro, that they must be held accountable. The report of the independent investigation must be released to the public in order to make it possible for the residents to hold our council members accountable. That is the minimum level of transparency that is expected and needed at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jesse.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
My name is Jessie Rubin, and I am an active member of the League of San Leandro Voters. I am giving comment tonight in full support of Councilwoman and Vice Mayor Zua Bowen. In this moment, when there is so much cynicism about politics and politicians at every level, we should thank our lucky stars that we have Bowen on our city council. She has consistently made choices and statements while representing us that have been for the greater interest of our city. It is clear that she cares deeply about actually doing the hard work, not just giving lip service to it, to improve life for all of us in San Leandro. What we learn now is that she lodged a formal complaint against council members Aguilar and Simon many months ago for the same behavioral misconduct that we have heard them accused of and censured for. I cannot imagine how frustrating and emotionally draining it must be to try so hard to do good and be thwarted by such petty and toxic antics time and again. Nor can I imagine the courage it must take to call out colleagues formally when you still have to work with them day in and day out. The woman has a heart of gold and a spine of steel. We need more politicians just like her. We, the public, deserve to know the results of the investigation that her complaint led to. We have a right to know how deep the brazen misconduct of Aguilar and Simon extends. The investigation will also be made public to bring us one step closer to the kind of politics that San Leandro deserves. Not one steeped in scandal and dysfunction, but one where all council members genuinely care more about advancing the public interest than playing self-serving games. If we fail to shine a bright light on misconduct, it will continue to stymie progress in San Leandro, and no one else like Bowen will sign up to represent us, because to do so would be to take on a losing battle. Release the investigation to prove to us that the battle isn't lost. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Stephanie Smith.
My name is Stephanie Archuleta Smith, and I'm speaking on behalf of myself and my husband, Dr. Chris Smith. In countless situations, we've had ample opportunity to impartially appraise the personality, spirit, and true nature of Fred Simon. Fred is admirably zealous and passionate in his tireless pursuit to solve problems affecting San Leandro. We have witnessed nothing less than honest, respectable, dedicated, and incredibly self-sacrificial service to San Leandro. Fred has never behaved, spoken, or even hinted at disrespectful or unseemly behavior to anyone, male or female, that this disgruntled vice mayor attempts to smear him with. As a multicultural communication specialist for over 3 decades, I sincerely believe that this vice mayor and Fran Robustelli just do not understand impassioned communication styles of men of color who may not agree with their perspectives. As the vice mayor is also accusing another city council member of similar offenses to her. It is common for people to take offense at what is misunderstood. Unfortunately, the current vice mayor's obvious lack of familiarity with cultural diversity nuances has provoked her to most likely unwittingly bully these two city council members. The Honorable Fred Simon, a well-respected husband, father, and Stanford-educated engineer, would never engage in the egregious behavior she is accused him of. In short, the city of San Leandro is fortunate and blessed to have someone of such sterling character and pure heart devoting his time, wisdom, and outstanding talent as the very Honorable City Councilman Fred Simon.
Thank you. The next speaker is Carol Haberkos.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi, my name is Carol Haberkos. I'm a resident of San Leandro. I really would like to see the report. I am not sure how people can comment without seeing the actual report. I'm here to talk about both council member Aguilar and Simon. I've known them for years. I've worked with them with community meetings. I've done lots of events with them. I have never seen any of this behavior. They have always been kind, articulate, intelligent at all of the meetings that I've been at. We've worked on a lot of campaigns and a lot of local San Leandro, really good things to make San Leandro a better city. I really believe in them. And again, I have total respect for them. I've never seen any kind of this behavior in many settings, many meetings, and I have total confidence in what they do. So I find that I'm really questioning this, what has been the accusations that have come against them. I have never seen that. They've always treated me and my friends with respect, all women and men, and we've done a lot of work together. So I have faith in them, and I really don't know how anyone can make judgments without seeing the reports and looking into this further. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Douglas Spalding.
Thank you. The thing that kind of sticks in my head is something that Councilwoman Bowen said some time ago in this discussion, which is she had called for training, HR training for the entire council to undertake, which I guess I misunderstood. I thought that had been decided upon, but I guess it just fell by the wayside. But I'm wondering, like, why hasn't the council done that? That would seem rather fundamental under the circumstances. Councilwoman Bowen, I regret the sexism, bullying, retaliation, all the discrimination that you've faced, and I think in these matters, I learned to believe women and to trust what women are saying. But I will also say that Fred and Victor are friends of mine, and I've heard it. I think one memorable occasion was when Councilwoman Bowen really did her homework before one of the priority setting sessions, and then was lampooned for all the points she was making. And so, I believe one of the roles of friends is to struggle with each other, especially for men to struggle with other men. And so, I've been critical of Victor, and I've been critical of Fred, and I do it directly to them. I think the city has to see this report, and so I hope you as a council will decide to make the facts known. I have to say I'm a little confused by some things, like the idea that the District 1 replacement selection was somehow sexist. I didn't really like Fred or Victor's choice, and I'm happy that Councilwoman Viveros Walton is in place.
Thank you. Your time has elapsed. The next speaker is Sarah Bailey.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes.
This is Sarah Bailey. As a regular attendee of City Council meetings, I have repeatedly witnessed attempts by Councilmember Simon and Aguilar to block Councilmember Bowen from doing her job. I have seen them outright lie, such as when they tried to prevent her from becoming vice mayor. I've watched them waste valuable time, as they did again tonight, in an effort to silence her voice. She is a creative thinker with exceptional problem-solving skills, yet council members Simon and Aguilar collude to block reasonable progress that council member Bowen initiates. As a resident of her district, this is especially frustrating to me, and as a woman, especially offensive. I'm sure the behavior I've witnessed is just the tip of the iceberg. I am not in council's backroom meetings. I am not privy to their interactions with members of city staff. But Aguilar and Simon have been named in a lawsuit against the city by former city manager Fran Bastelli for exactly the kind of behavior Councilmember Bowen includes in her HR complaint. Government and businesses are different animals. In business, an employee who violates the rules of conduct would be fired. This action is not available to council, who are employed by the people who get a say every 4 years. Between elections, the council must police itself. To avoid erosion of the public's trust, council members must be held to account. Therefore, I call on this council to discipline council members Simon and Aguilar. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Kat Wellman.
Good evening. My concern is about the fairness, due process, and transparency. You've heard many speakers that are saying the report should be released, and I'm basically going to tell you that I believe this request is premature. The request was made by Councilmember Bowen on October 24th, and you did not get the facts that would support the request until the investigation was released, and that was not until October 31st. The policy, which allows you to actually take this request, says that the written information must be distributed to the entire council. The request must contain specific facts and allegations as to the charges. And we were told that the investigation would include those, but the public has not seen it, and neither has the whole council, unless you can tell me that council members Simon and Aguilar have also received a copy of the investigation. I believe that the council should postpone taking any action on this until they have actually made the investigation public, and also have given a copy to both council member Simon and Aguilar. Otherwise, you do not have any transparency. We have no idea what you're actually basing your decision on tonight to actually put it onto a future agenda. It's just based on a request of a council member, and the public has not seen it, and the council member who are being charged have no opportunity to actually make any kind of defense on their behalf why it shouldn't be put on a future agenda. I think you should postpone your decision and put it on for a future one after you have released to the public the investigation results. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next speaker is Lucas.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my comment this evening again. I just want to say that the City Council must treat these allegations and the need for disciplinary action with the utmost severity. The Council's credibility is at stake. There are repeat patterns of bad behavior highlighted by prior censures, council member quittings, the city manager quitting, another council member resigning, the previous mayor not being able to work with this iteration of the council, FBI indictments of a council member, a hostile work environment, the need for censure. It's a mess. It's a mess. The city council must proceed with an investigation. You have to agendize this for the next one. I don't agree with the speakers who think that we have to wait for a report. We saw what the Robustelli report said. It was 90% crossed out and blacked out. We barely got to find out what the details were. The report will come out. You will read it. address it as soon as possible. Justice delayed is justice denied, and this council member has already been waiting for 10 months. I say, release the Epstein files. Release the Aguilar. I apologize. Release the Aguilar files. Release the Simon files. This is ridiculous. Just let us know what's happening. I appreciate the council member's discretion and her not saying exactly what happened to her. I can understand her not wanting to punish her colleagues in a public forum, but get to this agenda item as soon as possible. We deserve to know, you deserve to know what happened. Lastly, the speakers who talk about the public character of these people, I just want to remind people that sometimes history has shown that the most heinous abusers, Bill Cosby, Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer, Jared Fogle, Jimmy Savile, they all maintain public personalities that are perfect angels, and then the truth comes out. And with truth, there are often consequences in these matters. Enforce the rules. Thank you.
Thank you. Mayor, that concludes the raised hands on Zoom.
Okay, so that concludes our public comment online. We've had public comment in person, online. Okay, so at this point in time, we have a question before us. The core question is what action should be taken at this time, if any, right? That's what's placed before us, what the council, what the clerk brings to us. I will begin with Councilmember Aguilar.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. With regards to proceeding with a disciplinary vote without disclosure of the underlying findings, what totally undermined the principles of fairness, transparency, and due process that the city's policy and Brown Act Government Code Section 54950 are intended to uphold. So I move that we cease any further action or consideration of disciplinary or censure measures made in reference to California Government Code 54950, affirming the city's commitment to transparent and fair process consistent with both the Brown Act and our internal policies.
So I just want to, that's a lot of words, and I don't have it in front of me, but the essence of your request is to postpone? I want to get the verb that goes with this.
Is to cease.
To cease this action. So to table the action, to continue the action. I mean, I need kind of like a little more precise word, and you're welcome to ask legal counsel for some guidance on your word choice.
The word is cease, not table or postpone.
Okay, so that we take no action today. You're moving
Right.
that we take no action, okay, today, or ever.
That we take no action because there's no, what are we going to base this off of? We have no evidence, and according to Government Code 54950, we are owed due process and the city's policy according to the Brown Act. How are we going to violate that policy if we have not been given the report?
Thank you. So I've got your motion. Councilmember Riveros Walton.
Well, I'm certainly not seconding that motion. I do have some comments.
Please proceed.
51% of women experience bullying in the workplace in the United States. 42% report gender discrimination, and the number jumps to 53% if you're a woman of color. 61% of us have seen it in the workplace and in other places that we are in. I wanted to start with this to kind of frame our conversation about what happens to women in the workplace. And you don't have to take our word for it. The stats are there. We talk about it with our friends and our partners. We talk about it with people we trust, with trusted men and trusted people. Believe us. Believe women. But many of you have heard me say that we do not live our life in the aggregate. You don't have to believe that 43% of women experience this because there's a report. specifically that addresses the questions and concerns and the allegations that our vice mayor has said. So I did want to share a little bit of context about how this report or the investigation happened. When we received the complaint, the city council of the folks that were not conflicted out, there was actually a committee that interviewed various attorneys that would do this investigation to ensure that it was a fair and independent investigator with zero ties to the city. And we found one, and they began their process. And since then, there's been interviews of people on this council, off the council, members of the public. Actually, I don't know if there's members of the public, but a lot of people have been interviewed. There was some delays in scheduling, but I was very dismayed by the line of questioning that my colleagues have done, particularly Councilmember Simon and Aguilar, on the process, and not necessarily thinking about unintended impact of your words and your actions. Many of what we have already talked about, things that have happened publicly, I brought them up again, and I'm going to bring it up one more time on November 3rd, that there are things that we do that may not have that intent, but when the person that is harmed is sharing that they were harmed by what you said or what you did, you have to take responsibility for the impact. And it's hard because I had to take responsibility for the impact that I had for not speaking up at the March meeting, where this issue has been, God, it has been talked about so much, but it was the city council planning session where vice mayor, then council member, now vice mayor, brought up her work items. And it was my first month on the job. And I knew what was happening in front of me, and I did not say anything. And that was not my intent, was not to hurt her, but I still apologized, even though I did not mean to harm her, because I harmed her by staying silent. And I implore to my colleagues to please take responsibility for your actions. We are facing a crisis of trust in our council, and we have a lot of work to do. 3,800 people in our city make less than $25,000 a year. 42% of us are renters. 1 in 5 households in San Leandro spend more than 50% of their income on rent. 56% of senior households are low-income households. And we have close to 300 people homeless in our city today. We have a lot of work to do, and we need to work together, and we need to get past this. Therefore, I make a motion to waive attorney-client privilege and release the redacted report. I would also like to bring this item back on the November 17th meeting. Is there a second?
This point in time, we will go to Councilmember Simon. Please punch in. There you go.
I feel we have 2 motions on the floor at the moment.
There is one motion that has not been seconded. I have a second motion that has not been seconded. Neither has received a second.
I will second Councilmember Viveras Walton's motion.
But that's not a point of clarification, so that's out of order. I had called on Councilmember Simon. You had asked specifically to clarify a point. I am happy to come back to you in a second.
Okay.
But in terms of order, Councilmember Simon is next.
Yeah.
So hold on. Please proceed.
I'd like to second Councilmember Aguilar's motion, and I do have some comments and a question.
Please proceed.
Okay, I'll go with the question first. Just on a voting standpoint, since we've been recused, Vice Mayor Bowen, myself, and Aguilar from the many closed session hearings on this topic, I don't know what happened in those meetings, what was going on with this investigation report. I don't know. But since we were recused from those meetings, why are we not recused today? Seems like we should recuse ourselves from a vote on ourselves. Or if you have an unbiased, or if you have a biased decision.
So I'll come to council. I'll come to legal counsel for a discussion of that.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, Councilmember Simon. The recusals were required because an investigation, an impartial, independent investigation needed to occur, and to do so, we needed to remove the individuals who were the subjects and the complainant so that the remainder of the council could determine the scope and work with the investigator to investigate the facts without tainting an investigation with the complainant or the subjects being involved. That's where the conflict occurs. Now that the investigation is completed, there's no conflict at all. The investigation's done. So that's why the council members, all of you, can read the report because it's an attorney-client privilege report of the city council. So there's no conflict anymore. You can now determine, you can read the report, and then the council as a body can decide what it wants to do with that report or not.
So to clarify, you're saying read the report first, then we decide, but it sounds like we're trying to decide today.
No, today, according to the policy, we've received a request for discipline. At this point, it's the council's received the request. Does it, according to this own policy, it can determine whether further investigation is required, considering we already have an investigation report that's there. It can determine whether discipline short of censure should be, is warranted, or it can determine to move forward with censure. Now, clearly, you don't have enough of the facts yet, so now that it's available, we've scheduled this because the council, Vice Mayor Bowen's complaint came in before this council's agenda was able to be posted, and so it was the next meeting's agenda, and that's why it was scheduled. Certainly, so you don't, to answer your question, there is no conflict of interest now. The council as a body will determine what it can do with its report.
So whether we can make a biased or unbiased decision, does that play into the decision here if we can vote or not? Like if you're voting, it seems like some people you kind of know which way they're going to go.
Well, certainly, you've got a report that you can now read and make your own decisions and vote your conscience.
But we don't have a report.
It's now available to be made available to the council.
All right, well, I still second Councilmember Aguilar's motion, and I'd like to make a comment.
Please proceed.
Okay. To the residents of San Leandro who elected me to represent your interests and concerns in 2020 and again in 2024, I work for you. You are my bosses. In the organization chart of our city, the residents are at the very top, or at least that's my recommendation to the city manager to show it this way. I am honored to give it my all and to carry out my duties to meet the needs of our city and all San Leandro residents. My words spoken tonight are similar to the words I spoke on November 18th, 2024 at my censure hearing, and it seems like I'm living it all over again. Nevertheless, I remain as resolved as I was when I was first elected in 2020 to serve on city council for one reason: to help people, to help the underserved, to help the manor, my District 4, that had the unfortunate and unofficial theme of no love for the manor, which we have been working really hard to reverse, and to help our city as a whole, all districts, those that live in the flatlands and those that live in the hills. All races, creed, gender, age, sexual orientation, doesn't matter who you are, help all. And I joined city council earlier in my career than expected in 2021 to the San Leandro Police Department from needlessly killing people of color. Stephen Taylor and Anthony Gomez, to name a few. Simple as that. Initially, I did not think it was the right time, as I had a full-time job as a senior civil engineer, my wife and I raising 2 young kids, caring for elderly parents, not in good health, with my dad recently passing, Scoutmaster for San Leandro Troop, and board member of the Oro Loma Sanitary District. A very strong leader on the council at this time, Corina Lopez, approached me and said, "Fred, we need you. We need your help here in the city." Initially, I said it was too much and not able to help with it. However, with all my other commitments, the timing is not right. However, I thought about it and prayed, and I said yes. I have a passion in my work, and I have high standards for our city, and I believe we should consider all options making our city the best and not settle for mediocre, while ensuring fairness, respect, and equality. Again, to my surprise and to many in the community, I am charged for discipline with more allegations without specific facts as required by the city's own discipline policy. And again, I am surprised and concerned with the investigation process, as I have been since I first joined the council. If this report is truly independent, which I believe it is not, then what has been going on with this report, which has been preventing me from seeing the charges against me? Why have there been multiple closed session meetings on this investigation and still no report until, I guess, 10/31? As I stated at the November 18th, 2024 Ascension hearing, I was told by the former city manager I should not raise concerns questioning city investigations publicly, as that may cast doubt on the city's investigation process. However, I will continue to raise them. Tonight, my 3 main concerns are, number 1, violating due process. The city is depriving me of my opportunity to review the documents in preparation for this item tonight. Just what was done to me on the November 18th hearing, when I requested an unredacted version during censure and was only provided a redacted version. I have not been provided any information for tonight's discipline hearing to prepare. Again, this is a violation of my due process, the legal principle codified in the 5th and 14th Amendments of the U.S. Constitution that my legal rights are respected. Number 2, the city is violating its own policies, allowing breach of confidentiality. AP 1000 administrative policy and allowing this item to be placed on tonight's agenda is in violation of Title I, Chapter 13 of the City Administrative Code Discipline Policy Statute of Limitations. And it appears that the city may have known this violation, as the policy was taken off as an attachment to tonight's agenda, even though it's referenced as an attachment. Number 3, the city is violating the U.S. and state constitution by discriminating against me and treating me differently for being Black. And tonight is yet another example of me being treated differently. I am being selectively prosecuted for violating policy, while others violate policy on confidentiality with no repercussions, and I am publicly accused while not allowing me to talk about the investigation. And I was denied by the city attorney in May of this year, and hauling me in here in front of the public, slandering me, defaming me, and not giving me the rights or tools to defend myself. And I believe there is no excuse for the city to look the other way when they see rules being broken in our city. Specifically, AP 1000, the administrative policy prohibiting against harassment, discrimination, and abusive conduct. If we don't follow our own rules, then how can we govern our city? And I'll repeat, as I shared during my comment at the November 8th, 2024 censure hearing, racism exists on this council, as I informed the mayor previously in 2024. Racist remarks towards me were made by a council member, and I'm still aware of no investigation, no follow-up, nothing. How do you think any Black man in this city or nation would feel if someone you are working with and had even exercised power to discipline them and defame their character would say, if I were a slave owner, I would be a good slave owner? Yes, those words were spoken to me as a Black man on the city council. And I'll repeat, if I were a slave owner, I would be a good slave owner. Still, I remain resolved, as when I first elected in 2020 to serve on city council, for one reason: to help people, to help the underserved, and to help our city as a whole. And I do have a follow-up kind of question, if I may.
Please.
In my words here, I mentioned the many closed session meetings, which I weren't in, Councilman Aguilar or Vice Mayor Bowen. We weren't in them. There was a number of them. How many of them were held? Can you remind me?
Does anybody have that number readily available? I'm sure we can come back to you on what that number would be.
Okay.
I suspect the number is on the order of half a dozen, but let's not,
Okay.
don't tie me down on that
So
number.
half a dozen. So back to my question. If the investigator did their investigation, they come to council, closed session 6 times.
I want to clarify, no one said that.
Okay, not the exact number, around half a dozen.
No, but the investigator did not come to each time that we discussed. Sometimes we just ask questions about, are things progressing? Yes, no, what are the hold up, et cetera.
Okay. If it had been presented to the council half a dozen times, what prevented us from sending this out within one meeting of the investigator giving you the report if it was truly independent?
So we received a final report on October 31st, 2025.
So how many draft reports did you review?
I don't know the answer to that question. A couple, I think.
And then what happens from the draft to the final part? What is excluded? What is included? Are we going to see all the drafts, what the investigator originally came up with?
That work is attorney-client privilege, and the original reports were quite long, and we asked for clarification, just make it simple and understandable.
So who determines if facts were removed or not? Does
City
anyone get to see
council
that?
members that were in that session reached consensus on guidance that was provided to the investigator.
Okay, I believe an independent investigation comes straight from the investigator. It should not be interfered with by council.
There was no interference of the investigation. Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion of the motion that's on the floor? So I cannot tell because I have people in my queue. So Councilmember Votis Walton, did you want to speak on the motion that's on the floor? You can just say, nod your head no, because I'm trying to move forward. Councilmember Bolt, did you want to speak about the motion on the floor?
Can you repeat that motion? I don't remember.
Councilmember Aguilar, would you please restate your motion for the record?
Yes, I would like to move that we cease any further action or consideration of disciplinary or censure measures made in reference to California Government Code 54950, affirming the city's commitment to transparent and fair process consistent with both the Brown Act and our internal policies.
Okay, Councilmember Bolt, did you want to comment on that?
I got a question.
Okay, please ask your question.
To the city attorney, if we vote on this now and we cease to go further, does that mean we can never come back and visit it once they've read the report?
Please proceed.
So, no, but what it effectively is doing is stopping the disciplinary process. That's could be independent of any action related to the report itself. So the report is its own thing. in this entire process. It just exists.
So a yes vote on this motion would not allow, once the report is available, I know you're saying it's available, but I think that's a little facetious. We just decided that, so it, in actuality, has not been available to vice mayor and the 2 council members. So I want to be clear on that. Once, if we vote yes on this, once they've read it, will we be able to take disciplinary action if we wish? My problem is I don't want to go forward with agendizing this unless we have a specific date after they've read it and have been able to digest it and can say something. But if we just say no, can't do anything, I'm not with that either.
Then that's what the motion is at the moment in time.
And so I'm just going to clarify, your motion is we will never consider discipline, correct? I'm sorry, I need to push you in. There you go.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. Yes, being that we don't have the report on hand, my question is, how can we make a decision without the disclosures of the underlying findings of, the principles and fairness and transparency that we talk about and due process that the city's policy and Brown Act advises on Government Code 54950.
Okay, so I'm going to introduce a substitute motion here because I want to get, we are, first, before I introduce my substitute motion, can we extend the clock for at least a few minutes? I'm sorry?
I'll second.
Okay, so
We have
let's
a
take a quick vote on just running very quickly to 10:30. Okay, please vote.
All votes are in. Motion passes unanimously with Councilmember Azevedo absent.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this, I'm moving to continue this item to November 17th meeting. I think everybody needs to read the report first.
I thought we voted to extend.
No, you don't.
And I seconded it.
I have a
Wait,
motion
you
too on the
don't
floor.
have you don't have a second because your second was out of order. We have an existing motion on the floor, and I'm making a substitute motion. So explain to me, parliamentarian, if that is incorrect. There was no second because the second was out of order. It was posed as a question.
That's correct. So we have a motion on the floor, and a substitute motion could be made. I think it's to the chair. I do think that you could go to Councilmember Viveros Walton and ask her, was that a substitute motion that you were intending to make to the main motion? Because the main motion is currently there right now, and we haven't gone to ask clarification by Councilmember Viveros Walton.
I'm going to stick with a substitute motion, folks. Let's keep this simple. The substitute motion is that we continue this discussion until November 17th, when people have had, all council members have had a chance to review the report. I do not support a motion where we waive privilege without council members having looked at the report. So my substitute motion, and I'll be looking for a second, is that we continue this item to November 17th. It's that simple. Do I have a second for that substitute motion? Very well, that motion dies. Now it will come to anyone else that wants to speak. Next in line, Councilmember Viveros Walton.
Well, there is a motion on the floor, but I would like to clarify my motion against that motion, and I'll make that a substitute because I think this gets to where we all want to be. One is, my motion is to waive attorney-client privilege and release the redacted report and agendize both, continue this part of the meeting into the 17th. So the council will have an opportunity to read the report and The public materials will be made available with the regularly scheduled calendar, right? So that's 3 business days before the council meeting. So the public will have the opportunity to read the report in time for the November 17th meeting. So my motion, I think, gets to both things: release the report to the public, continue the item to the 17th, which is our next available meeting, and the members of the council can read the report. What I am asking my colleagues is, in the name of transparency, without having read the report, to release it to the public. Release it to the public. It is on us to ensure that not only the money that we have spent, but the time that has spent on this report, that everyone reads it. So I know that it might feel vulnerable. I understand that. For everyone to take a vote to release this and waive attorney-client privilege, but I think that this is the first step in our crisis of trust with the public. I think this is a good first step. So I would like to make this a substitute motion to waive attorney-client privilege and release the redacted report and continue this to the November 17th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
We've got a second for the substitute motion. We've got a motion by Councilmember Viveros Walton to waive attorney-client privilege and to continue this item, the discussion around disciplinary action, until the 17th.
Just to clarify, it's a redacted, right? The one that goes out to the public is redacted. The council gets to see the full report, correct?
If that's your motion.
Yes.
So there will be some redaction of the report before it goes to the public. Okay. We have a substitute motion. We have a second from Councilmember Bolt on that motion. Now we will go to discussion on the motion. So I have in queue Vice Mayor Bowen and Councilmember Simon. If others are going to want to weigh in, that's fine too. But let's start with Vice Mayor Bowen.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to understand this process. I appreciate and would have seconded that motion as well. We have 2 separate processes right now. Currently, it is the request for discipline, which I think the name of it might be confusing to people. It prompts the council to take action to consider if another council member or a person from the public makes a claim against a council member. And then we decide if, because we enforce ourselves, we decide whether or not to take that claim seriously and elevate it to some sort of substantiation, like a investigation. Separately, in January, I filed an HR complaint that was approved to be investigated, and an independent investigator has worked on that. And finally, now it's being accepted. And so the conversation right now is not about what the disciplinary action is, but will we take the claim seriously, my report of misconduct? Will we investigate? And in our case, this case, it actually already has been investigated. So we already have that information. And then in a subsequent meeting on the 17th, we can, after everybody has read it, because also I have not read it, there is due process. I don't know what the findings are. I know what my experience is. I don't know what anybody else said. I don't know if the scope of the investigation went beyond what I shared because other people were a part of it. But I promise you that if I was wrong and these things did not occur, I would be the first to admit that I was mistaken. But the point is that this is the experience that I had, and I am trying to make it better. When somebody does something wrong, when I wish I could have the conversations that I had with my children with this council, because then maybe we could understand what it's like to identify something, understand how we impact other people, and work forward. This is not the first time we're talking about these actions, not privately, not publicly. We have discussed it for 2 years now. The timeline of it is not separate from what we're talking about. And so the HR investigation process will continue on. I would hope that our council, anybody on this council that says they care about accountability, that says the people are who they serve, that want people to trust them, will vote to release this information that we have spent taxpayer money on, that we have spent so much time on, staff time on. We have a duty to do that, and I will be the first with egg on my face if I am wrong. But this is what I have experienced, and I am confident that parts of mine, if not all of my experiences that I reported are true, but I will admit it if I'm not.
At this point in time, we'll go to Councilmember Simon.
Yes. I want to go back to my point about independent investigations, and I brought this up at the censure hearing, and my comments were ignored. And we had public commenters that came up. Bob Glaze, for example, who stated that his statements were misrepresented. I had submitted information that was completely left out of the investigation. So, and I mentioned that last year, I'm just refreshing our memory. I'm very concerned about calling something independent when it is not. The report, half a dozen times, has been, whatever happened in there, altered. If you
I'm
wanna
going to pause you because there is no factual
Okay,
basis for
okay,
saying that.
whatever
There
you-
is no one has said in this chamber that the report was altered half a dozen times.
No,
So
okay.
your point can be taken as is, but don't go beyond what you
Okay,
factually know
let me
to be true.
clarify. I heard that in those meetings, it was reduced, or whatever that means, something like that.
Simplified. It was,
Okay.
there were a lot of words, now it has fewer words.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that I have experience in this city where information is left out from the investigator, or however it got left out. What I'm saying is that if you truly want something independent, let the people see what the investigator said, not what the council wanted the public to see or us to see. Let the people see what the investigator said. If
So I'm
you
going
say
to pause you right there, and I'm going to ask you, do you want an unredacted report released? Because the motion on the floor is to release a redacted report and to continue this discussion until the 17th. That's the motion. And so the discussion needs to focus on the motion. Are you arguing that the motion should have an unredacted report? Is that what you're asking?
No. What I'm asking, and I'd like to modify, I'm not sure of the exact procedure, I'd like to modify the request to release the actual independent report that the investigator produced, not the report that was produced or whatever.
There was one final report, period.
Okay.
She stands behind her report. She has told us flat out, this is my report. I will testify about this report. And so I'm not quite sure what we're doing here by talking about as she thought through the report, as she did follow-up interviews, as she considered more information.
Okay.
She said, in the end, this is my report. I will testify about this report. She
Okay.
told us that.
But when you
And I
said,
really don't want to get into a lot of what happened in closed session, but what I hear happening here is the besmirching of a report that hasn't even been read yet. And so I encourage folks to read this report before commenting on the report.
but let me finish my point, please. What I'm getting at, and it goes back to the same thing I'm reliving from the censure hearing, is, and I don't have the exact verbiage, but you said it was reduced. What the investigator had provided in closed session, it was reduced. What I'm saying is let the people see actually what the investigator provided to council.
There was
That-
one
that-
final
that
report
is-
provided, and that is what we're talking. That is on the table. There is a report, and that is what Councilmember Rivera Walton has said. I move, if I heard you correctly, I move that we take the October 31st report, the only report that exists that she is standing behind, and that she says, I will testify about this report. Councilmember Rivera Walton has said, I want to have that released in a redacted form, and I want to continue the disciplinary hearing.
Okay, but what I'm asking, what, is there a procedure, and maybe City Attorney, you can inform me, that I can request, can I substitute on your motion to request that the version of the report that was given to council before it was reduced, that be released?
So the short answer is no, because we have a substitute motion. You can't substitute a substitute motion. You can ask for a friendly amendment to the motion that's on the floor.
Okay, I'd like a friendly amendment.
So Councilmember Rivera Walton, are you open to changing your motion?
There is no other report, though. There's only that report.
Well, that's fine. I mean, there is one report, period, the end. There is one report. And what you are asking for is something that existed at some point in time as she, the investigator, was refining her report and making it clear and more communication clear. So, but nevertheless, a request has been made of the motion maker if the motion maker wants to amend her motion. So your mic is on, should you want to make a change.
I do not.
Okay. Councilmember Simon, I do not have you. Yes, I do have you. Would you like to continue?
I'd like to hear what my other colleagues have to say, but I'll have a final comment.
Okay, Councilmember Aguilar, I think is next.
Thank you, Mayor Gonzalez. I think the question was answered. So the Councilmember Rivera Walton was making the motion to not include the unredacted version?
So no, I'm going to state the motion because I want the motion to be clear from the chair, and then I will go to the motion maker to confirm whether that statement is correct. Councilmember Viveros Walton has said, we have a report. That report we received on Friday. It is now printed and available for everyone. It's dated October 31st. She says she has moved, and she has a second. I've lost track of the second. I think it was from Bolt. Thank you. That this report, the only report that exists, that report will be released to the public in a redacted form, essentially as soon as reasonably possible. I'm looking for a head nod, and that's what I got. And then, at which point, she also has added as part of her motion that this disciplinary discussion be continued until November 17th. And that's in contrast to your motion, which said that we're terminating this, it's done, it's finished. So those are the two things that are presented in this substitute motion.
I'd like to make a friendly amendment since we are beyond the time frame that we bring it to the December 1st meeting rather than the 17th.
Okay, Councilmember Rivera Walton, are you open to that?
I'm not.
You are
I am not.
not, okay. Councilmember, okay, so now we're going to Vice Mayor Bowen.
I had some concluding statements, but I would like to,
I wanted to.
oh,
Can I
can I also just, we were supposed to end at 10:30, and I would like to extend it to 11 o'clock.
Second.
Thank you. So I'm sorry.
To 11.
To 11 extending.
Second.
Okay. And so I've got a motion from Councilmember, from Vice Mayor Bowen with a second from Councilmember Vivotis Walton to extend our meeting to 11 o'clock. Please vote.
All votes are in. The motion passes, 5 yeses. Councilmember Bolt voting no, and Councilmember Azevedo absent.
So please proceed.
I'm sorry that we are still here at 10:30. I'm sorry to the staff that are still here and to the council members, and I also wish that this could have gone quicker. I am honestly flabbergasted that I have to defend a decision to report harm that I experienced and to try to convince this council that action should be taken and that you should believe me, you should believe people. There are council members on up here that have daughters, and I know that if they experienced anything, or if you have a sister or a mother, any of the things that I experienced, and they came home and they said, this is how I felt, this is what I experienced, you would want to at least check it out. You would want to at least give them the benefit of the doubt. You would at least want to make sure it doesn't happen to them or anybody else, because we want to make things better. And I appreciate the public comment, and I appreciate the people that are still here. People have written in and supported me, and people have written in and supported Councilmember Simon. And at one point, Councilmember Simon and Councilmember Aguilar, you were kind to me too. At one point, you were honest with me too. At one point, we had conversations and I was able to say, hey, that's not true. That wasn't okay. That was a lie. And we can no longer do that. And I want to change that. And not once in the last 10 months has there been any acknowledgement at all that maybe, just maybe, you could have done something intentionally or not to disrespect, to cause harm, to behave in ways that are inappropriate. And so here we are now. I don't want to take your voice away. I'm not asking you to resign. I'm not asking you for censure. I'm not asking for any of these things. Those are decisions we make as a council. What I'm asking for is to take this seriously and to do something about it. And I am exhausted too. Do you know how hard it is to sit up here, to be treated this way, and to have to plead with my peers to do something about it? What kind of example are we setting to every single person in this community, every single woman, every single child? I respect every single woman that came in here and appreciated what an experience like this is like. That would at least give me the benefit of the doubt, because guess what? They've probably experienced it too. We could at least do that courtesy. I am just incredibly frustrated. I understand that I am showing my emotions, but I am exhausted. And I implore this council to please do the right thing, because if you can't even do this, we cannot be trusted to do anything. We are the ones that say we do something, and then we have to follow through with it with our actions. I have said 1,000 times, this is not about punishment. I am not saying these things. People have mentioned things. They can mention things if they want to. We are going to go through the process. That is what I'm asking for. Can we at least do that? Because otherwise, what is the point of a council code of ethics? What is the point of any of these things in front of us? What is the point of telling the community that we care? Because we apparently don't if we cannot do this.
Okay, so there has been a call of the question. Is there a second on the call of the question?
Second.
Okay, so let us take a vote on, do we call the question?
All votes are in. Apologies for my technical issue. The motion fails with 3 yeses and 3 noes. Councilmember Azevedo is absent, and the 3 noes are Councilmember Aguilar, Councilmember Simon, Mayor Gonzalez.
Okay, so we will continue discussion. Councilmember Voters Walton, I know that you've been
Yeah.
waiting. Please proceed.
I'm disappointed by that vote. However, I did want to let your word stand, Vice Mayor. But there's a couple of things that were shared that quite frankly surprised me, because that means that someone in closed session shared with you that there was reports, and I don't understand how that happened. I didn't do it. Who did it? You shared just now in your comments that you were told that there was a report, a version of the report that was longer than the version that we have now, the final version. No. I know what I heard. And if there was, I'm speaking. I am speaking. That's what you said. I didn't do it. So who in closed session is sharing things that happen in that room? I did want to share publicly that I read 2 versions of that. It took me 3 hours to get through it. 3 hours in city offices, bookmarking, reading through it, reading every footnote. And I put in so much thought into this because I wanted to ensure I took in y'all's feedback in ensuring that I put in the time and my brain and I looked at that report and I gave my thoughts on it. However, I am deeply troubled by what you shared. And you can go back to the video and hear yourself what you just said. And I guess no one else has the floor, but maybe, I don't know who shared what happened in that room, because that is not okay. That is not okay. I would like for us to vote on this motion because I actually did submit 3 item 13s to ensure that we continue our city business. I have an item on Lake Chabot Road that I want to talk about. I have an item on vacant lot activation, and I have an item on providing some tax incentives for priority businesses in San Leandro. So I have business to get done today. I have the people's business to get done today. So we need to get this done because we are out of here at 11. So I would actually like to call the question. Do I have a second?
We just had that. That the motion failed. It failed 3-3. So everyone gets a chance to weigh in. I am going to offer a friendly amendment because I've stated before, I am very troubled by expecting folks to release a report that they haven't seen yet. We're asking for a waiver of attorney-client privilege, and that really bothers me. And I'm stuck with that because I think that as a matter of fairness, I won't use due process because that's a legal term, but just I'll call it fairness. I think that as a matter of fairness, our colleagues should be able to actually see the report before they vote on something. You know, we can talk about building trust and the like, but I would ask you respectfully to consider, would you be willing to remove that part of your motion?
Respectfully, Mayor, no.
Okay. At this point in time, we will go to Councilmember Simon.
Can I let Councilmember Bolt go first before I go? Since, I mean, I'd like to hear,
So if you're, that's, I'm
I
fine.
mean, I'd
You-
like to
you-
still speak, but I'd like to hear what he has to say.
So I'm going to
If
pull
he's
you
okay
out
with
of the
that.
queue, and then you can come back into the queue. Councilmember Bolt, please proceed.
Yes, I'll go with what you were just asking. And I believe the motion that was made by Councilmember Viveras Walton was to in fact allow them to read it. But let's not delay, right? If we set a date now, they'll have 2 weeks to read. It's now available. They could go tomorrow morning and read it in the office of HR. I forget exactly where, but they could go tomorrow morning, and that would give them 2 weeks and so I sympathize with that thought, like, that's 2 weeks, like, come on, let's just get to the
But my
point.
point is, what if they object to, once they read it, what if they object to waiving the attorney-client privilege?
And listen,
And so you're asking them to make a decision without having seen a report.
okay, and respectfully, of course they are. I mean, we just got to move on. If I was in your guys' shoes, I'd say, nah, I don't want it. It's a good move. Hey, let's cease this, right? Like, I get it, but we got to move on. And if we just wait and prolong, and December 1st is supposed to, I mean, I want this behind us before we move on to any type of celebrate. I mean, we're going to have on December 6th, I think it is, the award ceremony here, and this thing's still looming? No, I'm not. I mean, we just got to get it done. It's not saying that they're going to be censured. It's not saying any of that. It's saying, let's give them some time to read it, but let's make a motion now, see if we got some support. I think you guys want the community to see what they paid for in this investigation. So I'll leave that there. Then, respectfully, Councilmember Viveras Walton, I hear your comment about someone said it, but while I was sitting here, what I heard is Councilmember Simon's reaction to what the mayor was saying. And that's why the mayor paused him twice, like, no, don't say, I didn't say that. He's not saying that he was told. I hope you were not told by another council member what went on in closed session, because that ain't right. But what I honestly feel in my heart is that what he was referring to was what the mayor said. And so I really believe that there is no, but if there is, you know what? This is what we've been dealing with, and this is the reason why we need to get it behind us, and we got to deal with it.